All right. Hello. Oh, gotta turn on this. Good morning. Hey guys, good morning. Hi Monica. Hi Leticia. All right. Hi Christina, nice to see you. And Tess, how are you?
Good morning. Hi.
Good
Morning.
morning. Morning. All right, I'm signing into the VDI. I just need a reminder this class how many people are going to be on VDI. So Leticia, I believe you're on VDI, right?
Yes, I'm in VDI. However, I already signed in and it never saved my Illustrator. Like I did some of the homework after, and I don't know if I don't know what happened, but it says there's something wrong with the file, and all I get is a little blank tile. So all that work was lost.
No. I mean, did you sign in to Google again?
Yeah.
Each time?
I mean, I can try doing it again. Let me go back.
Let me actually show you what I mean. I just did it, or you would see it, but each time you sign out, you have to sign in. So each time the class is over, you have to sign out of your Google Drive, and then when class starts, you need to sign in again. Like I'm just signing into it again. When you do that correctly, then your files don't show up as corrupted. Okay, so what you're seeing is that your file is showing up as corrupted. It isn't corrupted. It's just that Google Drive needs to be refreshed. So I can help you with that. Do you know if you did that, like sign out of Google Drive and sign in of Google Drive? Did you do that?
I did. When I went into the VDI, it had me sign in with Google.
Just now? Just now? Okay, then it is possible. It may be. I mean, I've never seen a file corrupted, but go ahead and share your screen. Let's see what you're talking about, so that I can give you a hand.
I don't know how to get back to a full screen after I've gotten it small.
Gotten Zoom small or gotten
the because in order to see the Zoom tile on my computer, I have to minimize the VDI window. So I'm not quite sure.
Yeah. So what kind of computer are you using?
Laptop HP.
Okay, so I highly recommend for everyone in the class to go get a Chromebook from school, and then you can have me Zoom on a Chromebook watching everything, and then your computer just doing VDI. That way you can never have to be worrying, you know what I mean? Otherwise it's going to be hard for you, because every time you need to follow an instruction, you have to see me do it, then you have to put me down, then you open the other one, and unless you can switch quickly, then you have to just share screen, like have half your screen with me, half your screen with Illustrator, like make it much smaller. And then you can see me all the time. Otherwise, the back and forth is not going to work. Like,
well, the thing with that, like I'm on two devices. I'm on the iPad to see what you're going to do, and then
you do have the iPad.
But when I have to share the screen, I still have to exit the full screen.
Got it. Okay. No, so Zoom, when you exit Zoom and you have the small windows, you still have the tools, don't you? Go down, I think you're on a PC. If you go down to the taskbar where you see the Zoom, I don't remember right now in the video how it looks, the Zoom is like a Z, or it says Zoom. If you click on that, doesn't that bring it up?
I don't know.
Because as long as you can share from your screen, one of the options will be the window that I've got two pair of glasses, one in my head, and I have my headsets, and then I have these. I was like very uncomfortable, and I couldn't figure out why. There you go. Anyway, go ahead and see if you can figure that out. And if not, I'll ask you to just share Zoom, whatever it is, even if you're not seeing your VDI, and then I'll help you figure out how to pull up VDI once you're sharing your desktop. Okay.
Okay.
Meanwhile, hi, Linda and Ed. All right, I think everyone else I already saw arriving. Please go to the chat, you guys, and say that you're here. And I'm going to put the Padlet link also so that everyone can head over there when necessary. And I'm going to share the Padlet screen right now, which, by the way, you guys have been putting some great stuff. Well, Saul's not here, but he's been posting a ton of good stuff. Here you go. So and Ali is not here, and so she did this bat, which is really funny. And if you think about it, it's really just basic basic shapes, like what we were doing the other day. Oh, how come it's not coming up? Hello. All right, well, you can see it there. I'm gonna make it bigger. There we go. So again, it's basic shapes, but she has added some curvy action and stuff like that we're going to spend some time working on how to get other shapes than the basic shapes today. And then look at all of these on top. Go take a peek. But Saul's been making, this is a wild savanna, a little camping thing, lots of Christmas ornaments, Qatar, Doha, and then Ed is in my digital techniques class, and we created a logo here for a coffee bean company and Illustrator that he added to an InDesign design of a postcard that we worked in Photoshop and in Illustrator and in InDesign to create this piece. So he posted that up there. So good job, you guys, for all your work. And then, of course, everyone who did the work. So here's Leticia, your work did get posted, at least so I know you did it, and I'm sure we'll find it. Don't worry. Yeah. Sorry, but my throat, everyone's has a bad throat. We all tested, we don't have COVID, but we all have bad throats, and I'll be like consuming lozenges today. Anyway, so unless there's any questions, no one seems to have asked any questions. It's just posted the classwork and then just stuff that you guys did. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, we will move forward. I'm going to stop my share now, and I have a request while I help Leticia. I have a request. This session, I am getting evaluated. All of us teachers are evaluating each other, and I'm doing evaluations of others, and they're doing of mine. I've already had my Photoshop class observed, but the students from all my classes have to fill out a survey of how I am doing as a teacher and what you think about my teaching, basically. So there's a survey that I'm going to ask you to fill, and I'm putting the link in there right now. If you are in others of my classes and you filled the survey already, please fill it anyway, because the first question you get asked precisely is, what class are you in? So if you were in digital design techniques, but you're an illustrator, then this is, you know, you could be a different student. You happen to be the same one, but please tell me how you think I'm doing with this class. I'm going to go ahead and share with you what this looks like. I'm going to, and you click on that link, because there's a couple of instructions that might make it easier to make this happen. And so here's the here's the window you'll arrive to, and there's a video here. Now this video happens to be me, but this is going to every single teacher, every student of City College is getting this video. I happen to have recorded it, and I happen to be your teacher, so you've seen me there, but it's not that it's not just for you guys. And it basically tells you how to fill out the survey. So let me just summarize the video and tell you, since I'm here in person, that basically what it's saying is that it's completely anonymous. Say whatever you really believe about the class, because I will get all of the answers that you write summarized in one big block. So I won't be able to tell who says what. Like I'll receive a list of what everyone wrote. Okay. And it's going to really help me because I figure out how to make classes better. So what, it's relatively easy to fill. For many of you guys, the window kind of shows up like that, and you have to scroll down to this little start. Another thing I want you to know is that if you want it to be in another language where you feel more comfortable writing your answers, you go over here and switch everything to a different language, for example, Spanish, and then it all shows up in Spanish, all the questions and stuff like that. So you're welcome to do that. I'm going to leave it in English for the sample. And when you hit the start button, there's two types of questions. First of all, what class are you taking? So you'll just write that. And then here's the thing. In this case, you probably, one line is enough. You hit next for the next one. But then the rest of the questions that you have are this one to five kind of thing. And it's confusing because we're accustomed to click here for best. Anyway, if you think I'm doing a horrible job, it's a 1. If you think I'm doing a great job, it's a 5. So when you click on a 1, it's the only one that turns on and it goes away immediately. If that was a mistake, or if you want to change your mind, go down here and click up and you go back to it. And then you say, no, she's more like a 2. Okay, so you can change your mind, or you can, do whatever you want. And then the next question comes up, the next question comes up, and it's going to do that. There's 10 of these, right? So I'm going to go ahead and click through wait, because I want to show you the next type of question. And when you get here and you say, oh, da, 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 and if you want to write more and you hit return, see, this says question 10. When you want to hit enter to write another line, it moves on to 11. And this is the part, this isn't so good. We need to figure out how to fix this in the survey. So if you want to go back, because you wanted to write more, go back up again and then just do period and keep writing. Or to do a return, hit shift return, and then you'll stay in there and you can write some more. That one is confusing. At least just do periods and keep writing. But just so you know, if you hit enter, you'll move over to the next question. So here it says hit shift enter for a new line, but it's hard to see. Okay, that's all. When you're done with the last one, it'll say, it'll just self-submit, or it will, or there's a button to say submit, but it'll just say thank you and all that. So that's all you need to do. All right, so can you all please do that now? I'll give you a few minutes, and then if anyone just showed up, I think Gustavo just showed up. So let me put the link again, because you don't see the chat that was there. Hi, Gustavo. So I think you got I think you showed up when I was talking about it. Can you please fill out the survey? And oh, here, let me click on it again. If you want, Gustavo, you can change it up here to Spanish. Lo puedes cambiar al español y poder responder todas tus cosas en español. Okay. Comienza, no sé comenzar. Okay, I'll have them fix it. Okay, y luego las preguntas van a estar en español y puedes responder todo en español. Okay. All right, so I'm going to stop my share. Leticia, have you figured out any way to share? I can't hear you. If you are speaking, Leticia, your sound is off. Oh, Leticia?
Filling out the survey, sorry.
No, I'm sorry. If you go ahead and finish it up, but I was just wondering if you needed a hand with that.
I don't know how I did it last time because I was still able to see your tile, the Zoom tile. Maybe I logged in through the VDI to the Zoom meet. I don't know. Well, because now when I click on your screen, I can see. Okay, let me just try and share it.
When you open up, when you go down to the taskbar and click on Zoom, does it have, I know that like it opens windows. Do you see a window that opens up or not? Let me see.
Like, okay, when I.
Oh, there you go. Perfect.
Okay.
Okay.
But see now my VDI is kind of like, here's the screen for VDI.
Yeah, and this is your Illustrator that's open.
Here's
so
the Adobe.
That's perfect.
So when I click on open, right?
Yeah, but that's not
No?
gonna work.
Okay.
Well, I'll go to Google Drive and let's see. Well, your archive trailer is there. You put it in my
I go to
drive.
my drive and then
If it's not working, then we're gonna have to just have
no.
you.
See, it says I
Yeah,
couldn't
so
really
go ahead
define
and
what
go
was
ahead
it.
and say exit, or well, you're gonna have to say open right now because it's warning you.
And
Go
then
ahead and say cancel. Go ahead and say cancel. And be done with it. And let's go and refresh your Google Drive. Okay. So go down to the bottom right of your screen where you have like totally bottom right. Like we have the date, the A on the taskbar, schedule. Yeah. Down, down, down. Yeah. And now to the left, there's like two little icons and then like a little upwards triangle. Yeah. That one. Click on that one. Hit the Google Drive, the Google icon. Yeah. And then go up to the very top and gears on the right. On the top right icon, which is gears. No.
oh,
Go start
yeah,
again.
let me minimize this a little
Yeah,
bit.
close this window because we don't need. Yeah. Go and click on. Yeah, and then there's like a little gears icon on the far right. Yeah, that one. So go to preferences. And then go down to the same gear icon up on the top right. Yeah. And then say disconnect account. So this is what, did you do this at the end of last time you were in online? Say disconnect.
Probably not.
Okay, say
I
disconnect.
don't remember this.
Yeah, so this is what you need to do. You need to disconnect from Google first. Okay. And now and then you leave, right? And then when you come back into VDI, this window will be available and you sign in again. So Google Drive needs to be refreshed each time. So now go ahead and sign in. Otherwise, the files appear as if they're corrected. Okay, so go put your whole pipeline email. So your username at pipeline.svcc.edu. Perfect. Say next. Now scroll down. Say sign in. Cool. Now you can close this window. Cool. Now you have a fresh, now since, okay, now say okay to that bottom. Google Drive is loading your files. Okay, give it a second. But go ahead and just to make sure, go to the Explorer instead of opening for here, because this might still be reading your old ones because we didn't refresh this window. So go to the Explorer. Yeah, open there. And then go to Google Drive and My Drive. Double click. And then open it from here. Cool. All right. So that's all you need to do. You need to refresh your Google Drive. You need to disconnect from it when you're done with VDI and then connect it again when you start again. Otherwise, yeah, it says that your files are always corrupted. Cool. You did it.
Thank
Great.
you.
You're welcome. Okay. Hopefully that took care of issues. And now we are almost, it was everyone. Let me see. Let me give Ali the link again. Hi, Ali. Thank you for joining us. And Ali, I'm going to put, I put a link here in the chat that everyone else has been filling out. It's survey about me, how I'm doing teaching the class. I'm getting officially evaluated this session and all my students have to fill it out. So when you have a second, please click on that link while I'm explaining something that you already know or something like that. Please click on that link and fill out that survey, okay? All right. Let me share my screen now. So I'm going to be doing a lot of the work here in let me open my Illustrator, my personal Illustrator on the side. So I've got my VDI that I'm doing some of the work, and then I also have my Illustrator that I'm doing some of the work in. And let me close this up. There we go. And the thing is that I did the work that we've been doing in my computer, So I don't have it on Google Drive, so I'm going to have to upload it. So I'm going to change my share to my personal Illustrator for a minute. So if you have any issues with Illustrator that are on VDI, I can share and I'll follow through with that, but I need to share this file. Here we go. All right, versions. Okay, so this is where we left it last week. We created the car and the trailer. Now, some of you guys in the Padlet showed me, I think Saul, but he might not be here till late today. He actually finished it up. And hopefully the rest of you who had the urge to work on stuff worked on something else, and that you're still here so we can do a bit more of this work. Does everyone have this file open? Does anyone not have it? And do you need the file if you missed the class last week? Well, not last week because it was Veterans Day. So now, by the way, this is the most interrupted class ever. Last week was Veterans Day. Today we're here, and then next week is Thanksgiving. So then we're meeting again after Thanksgiving. So sorry, this is a bad scheduling, but you're going to have 2 weeks in between class again. So I hope I hope everyone still remembers something by the time we get back to this after Thanksgiving. Okay, but just as a warning, next week, probably a logical assumption, but just in case next week there's no class. So does everyone have it? Give me a no if you don't have this file. Yeah, you're all okay? Okay, good. All right. So we have a couple of circles that we need to add for the tires, but I want to show you a couple of ways to do that is beyond just making 2 circles. Now, of course, one obvious way would just be, since I switch from PC to Mac all the time, I keep choosing the wrong shortcuts. So I'm going to move this out of the way a little bit, down here. So one easy way would be to just make a circle, right? But there's a couple of things about these. If you notice, there's a circle, another circle, and then there's like this half line. So we're going to have to like divide that to color it differently. That might not be as intuitive to do that little half fill. Or you can just put a gray rectangle behind this circle and a white rectangle behind this circle. But to do that, this has to be transparent, not just like a white circle inside of a black circle. So I'm going to talk a little bit about those kind of shapes because they're not just basic shapes, they're compound shapes, okay, to do that kind of work. So let's open a new file, and we're going to do a little bit of compound file work. So let's going to say file new. And let's just go with the basic, whatever shows up. It doesn't matter because it's just a sample file. We'll say create. Since last time I had created 8.5 by 11 with 3 pages, what shows up is that default file that's going to show up as whatever you created last. And so this is just as a reminder that that's how Illustrator likes to work. It will remember all of the Adobe programs, will remember the last thing you did and repeat that until you change that. So I'm going to go ahead and say Control or Command 0 so that I can get to fill the screen with just my first page. And now we're going to work a little bit on compound shapes. So let's go and head over to our basic rectangle over here and head down to the ellipse tool. I'm going to start by giving it a color already because it's very boring to have it fill with white and then not know if it's full or whatever. So again, I'm going to go with, I don't know, a yellow fill. And just so that we're clear what's happening, I'm actually going to put a stroke on this one. I'm going to go with the, I don't know, dark green stroke and make it a bit fatter, 1 or 2 points, just so that the sample is a bit clearer. And then I'm going to click and drag and make a circle. Now, remember that if I am wanting a perfect circle, I can either wait until I get those green lines. Sorry, where did I get green? pink lines, which are my smart guides, to tell me I've got the perfect circle, like doom, when I see that it's perfect circle, or I can just hold the shift key, and then that forces this to be nothing but a perfect circle. Okay, holding down the shift key. So now I've got my little circle going. Here we go. That's one circle. Now, if I actually make another one right here, let's make another one that's a little bit smaller. Actually, I'm going to delete that one. I want to remind you that another way to make circles is also not only holding down the shift to get a perfect circle, but if you hold down the Option or Alt key, then you can make it pulling out from the middle. So it's a bit easier to figure out where it's going to go if you do that. Right here, I'm going to go ahead and do that in the middle of this one here. I'm going to change the fill. I'm going to give it a pink fill now so we can really see what's happening. But see, I can now put my mouse over here, find that center, just because that pink line is telling me that's the center. This is not the center, the center. This is the center. See how it says center? Then I hold down my Option key and shift, and I click and drag. And now I know that the circle I'm making is perfectly centered. Does that make sense? Instead of having to guess. Now, we didn't need to have done that. We could have put another circle over here and then, sorry, made two circles like that. And make this one the next. You could have had two. I'm just trying to make them with two different colors so that we can see the front one. Make another circle. And then I could have just grabbed these two and use the alignment to center and then center, right? So then again, they get aligned. So, but that was 2 or 3 different steps versus just having created in its place already, right? So either way, one way or the other, we have 2 circles where the circles are centered. Now, if I want to keep making this one bigger or smaller, and I just hold shift and pull, again, it'll run out of center. So if I do this from the corner, shift, smaller, so that you end up having a thin kind of tire shape. See how that's a relatively
Diana, you
thin
broke
tire
up
shape.
and we didn't hear you say anything for a couple seconds.
Oh, okay. Did that happen to everyone? Is it, I just want to see if it's my connection. Did everyone lose me for a while?
I don't know. I think
No?
think I could still hear you.
Okay, just to check and see if it's me or you, Ed. Okay. No one else seems to said that they lost me, at least Leticia. The rest aren't answering, but
Hey Diana, I'm a guy. It's always me.
It's not about who's at fault. I can turn off some things. I do have VDI on in the background. I have other stuff on that I can close if it is me. So actually I should, let me just quit. I have like Excel. I have so many things open. Let me close a bunch of other stuff just so that if it was me, now I've got less going on. I have Photoshop open. I'm going to quit Photoshop. I'm going to save that.
Can you repeat how you joined the circles? Because I think I'm pushing the wrong one and it distorts the circle.
Okay, give me a second. Give me 1 second. I'm saving in the background so that I can get rid of my other Photoshop program that was still running. Okay, so say that again. I was focusing on closing stuff and I didn't hear your question. Can you repeat your question?
So sorry. When you joined the circles to center them,
okay.
Can you repeat that? Thank you.
If you have 2 circles that are not connected, the first thing you need to select both, right? So click, shift, and click on the 2 that you're trying to get centered, right? And then here on the right side, you'll have the properties panel, and under the align, you can center them vertically. So you click on that. And so both of the centers align. And then you head over here and you center them horizontally. And there you go. Now you've
Oh,
got
perfect.
them
Thank you.
center, and that works really well, because you don't always have the wherewithal in the moment to go, oh, let me make it perfectly right in the moment and center it in the right place. So hey, that's okay. If you didn't do it to start with, just do that. And that works as well. Okay. And here, the one I did here was just using the center tool, finding the center, right? Holding the Option and the Shift key, and then pulling out and creating it that way. All right. Either way, I end up with two centered circles, two ways of centering a circle. Now this is still two centered circles. And if I click on one and move it, it's gone. These are not grouped. They are not connected in any which way. So we're going to do two different options here. First of all, if you need to make them any bigger or smaller, you have to select both. Now remember, when I say select both, I don't mean select the whole thing both like that. As long as my click and drag that starts outside of an image connects in one way or another to both. So as long as I do like that, see, I'm barely touching the blue, that's enough. It selects my entire shape. Then I can go back and move them, because now they are selected together with one big bounding box. But the moment I move away and I get distracted, I make a mess again. So first thing I'm going to do, one option is to just group them. So I'm going to do that. Select both, and then head down here and the quick actions. I can do a group. I can also, for people who like right clicks, I can do right click group. For people who like menus, it's up under object to group objects. Anyway, so once I've grouped it, okay, notice that now my choice, once this is grouped, is to ungroup, but I'm not going to right now. But now I can just grab it without having to, like, it's just one object. Okay, now it is one object and it's grouped, but it is still, I'm going to go to the layers. Okay, and if you remember where the layers are in your computer, that's good. And if not, and if you can't find, then always go to a window and just choose whatever you're trying to have pop up. So in this case, layers, and then it'll show itself. And so this is where we used to have the layers, I believe, up here. So if you didn't do this and you had the layers there to start with, I hated going from layers to properties. So I went ahead and dragged this little layers panel out and put it here in the side, so that I could get just a quick layers whenever I need it, and I can have the properties and the layers at the same time. So if you need help doing that, let me know. But basically, you can grab any of these tabs and pull them out, and then have them be in different places. And then in that case, I had tabbed and I put it in here. Now I don't want the libraries in there, so I'm going to put it back where it went. But see how it's easy to move things around? So that's what I did to the layers. Now, when I open the layers, I have one layer for all of these objects, and there's 4 objects here. So I have to click on this little icon to see my different 4 objects, but lo and behold, it's not 4 anymore because I've grouped 2 of them. And so this group shows up as one object, but it has its own little sub opening. And there are my grouped green and blues. Okay. Now, you might have or not the other 2 shapes together. Since I went and recreated this one in my samples, they ended up not together. So I'm going to go ahead and grab, and I'm going to drag this yellow one under so that it's near the pink one, just for ease of having my layers a bit more organized. But basically, anything that you group now is showing up. It has its own 2 layers individually here, but the groups are there. Now, if I were to want to, for some reason, want the small layers to be behind the front ones, the small circles to be behind the big ones, it would be very hard to do and then know how to grab them again. But in this case, it's very easy to just do like this, and boom, I have hidden the blue layer behind the green one, but then I can't grab it anymore. There's no, I know it's there intellectually because I know I made it and I put it there, but the only way to grab it now is to grab it from here. But if I just grab the layer like this, all I can do is drag them front and back. That's all I can do from the layer, but I can't select the item from here. I have to select it from way over here, this tiny little ball. When I click on that, then I see the line and the selections. And if I were to want to, I can just click and drag it out. But I have to click and drag out from those precise lines. In this case, I'm just going to bring it up here. So hopefully you guys are playing around with that. When I do all this playing around with stuff, it's to show you, it's not going to get us to any particular shape. It's to show you how to work with and manipulate all of these different items so that you learn also how to manipulate your object. All right, so now I have a grouped layer here and two individual layers here. Now, say that this was the car tire, which again, let me move up a bit. If this was the car tire here, remember that it has to have in the background half and half kind of diagonal shape for the shade, right? If so, how do you make a half circle and make one be white, make one be gray? I mean, we could put a gradient in there, by the way, but I'm just trying, I haven't taught you gradients yet, and I'm trying to be, I'm trying to follow this design, right? For us to do it with a half circle, because it's teaching you more skills. There are ways to draw a half circle and then create a straight line. I will be teaching you how to draw, but it's not right now. One of the things that I'm going to teach, I'm going to teach it to you later, but I will teach you how to do it differently, which is with compound paths. So in this case, what I need to do is make this inner circle be empty, but not as in, let me grab the, here, let me go to this one because it's not grouped. Not empty as in no fill to the inner circle, because yes, now I have a circle that has no fill, but I still have orange behind it. So it's not empty. So what I meant to say when I meant empty is, I think I had a color here. What I meant to say that I needed to make it empty is that I needed to knock out that circle and have just a donut ring. Does that make sense? That's all I need is a knocked out kind of shape. So just like we did, there's so many different ways to do this knockout thing. I taught you last week how to use this tool. So this was the shape builder tool. Now, to use the shape builder tool, in case you don't remember, you had to, I'm going to make this a little bit small. You had to select both of your shapes. So again, select both of the shapes to start with, both of the shapes that are going to be affected. And going to the shape builder tool, you can go over here, and in order to knock this out, you would have to do the negative, which is hold down your Option or Alt key. Okay, get your tool in negative mode, and then just a little click right there. I got myself a donut ring. So I've used the front shape to give me that back shape. Does that make sense? Now, I could have done it a different way. So I'm going to show you how to do it in this mode with this second circle. So if you guys have two sets, grab your second one. Now, it doesn't matter whether this was grouped or not. That was just would have since really grouping is just selecting two at the same time. It could have been grouped or not grouped. The top one was not grouped. This one is grouped. Oh, by the way, this shape now, notice if you look at the layers, it's not two shapes anymore. It's not the two that I had. It's one thing that's called a compound shape, but this doesn't open. This is truly one shape now. And if I make this a little bit bigger, it's a compound path. Okay, so that's what we got here. This is considered a compound path. There's different ways of making compound paths, but right now that's how we made this one. Now I can select this shape and I can go down here to the Pathfinder. So this is the shape builder tool is its name, but many of the things that I've been teaching you with the shape builder tool could be done over here with the Pathfinder. Pathfinder, if you expand it, has so many different options and tools and choices that let us do similar and or expanded things of what the shape builder tool lets us do. But one of the things that I can just go over here is if I click on, I'm trying to get you guys, I don't know if the tooltip is sharing. If I were to use this first one here, it says click to unite. And I do that and it turns into one shape. I've lost my circle. I'm going to do Command Z to undo that. Look what it says it says click to unite, alt click to create a compound shape. You see that tooltip? So if I just click, then it unites, it's one shape, Command Z. But if I alt click, meaning first hold down the Alt or option for Mac people, then I click, right? So Alt, option, and then click. Wait, hello? Huh. Why is it not doing it? Am I on the PC version or on the Mac version? I'm suddenly confused now because it's Alt or option. It doesn't matter. It's the same. Hello. It's working, but the Alt is not working for me. How bizarre. Is the Alt click working for you guys?
I don't even have an Alt key on my keyboard.
If you're Alt option on the Mac.
No, there's no Alt key on it.
Listen, option on the PC is the Alt on the Mac. Okay, so
Other way around.
Sorry, option on the Mac is the Alt on the PC. And on the Mac, if you read the option key, it actually says Alt above it. So it's the same one. Like on the PC, it's only called Alt, but on the Mac, it's called Option or Alt. It has a little tiny letters on top. It's the same key. But that said, why is
Are
my...
we supposed to click Alt and then
You
the
should, but hold, let me
unite?
Yeah, hold on. Let me get two that are not connected for some reason, and I'm going to exclude. Oh, maybe it is because it's grouped. How funny. It's not doing it here. And I can only think it's because it's grouped that you can't, that it's not working. Because here I just made two, and it's working. So my bad if I told you it doesn't matter if it's clicked, if it's so let me undo this. Let me just start from zero. Let me erase your brains from whatever it is that I have said, and let's start all over again. I told you it didn't matter that it was grouped, but it does matter. I just tested it. It wasn't working for the grouped one. So if you guys made a grouped version, let's ungroup it first. Once it's ungrouped, then the Pathfinder will work. I never noticed that Pathfinders didn't work when objects were grouped. So there you go. I have just learned something. So I have ungrouped these two so that they're back to being two separate, shapes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I can't even find group on mine. Like the VDI screen cuts off a little bit down there.
Do you have your, maybe you need to have your essentials. Do you see your properties panel? Because do you see your properties panel, first of all?
Yes.
Okay, so the properties panel is only going to show you group if you have something to group. Like right now, it's not showing me the group. But if I have one thing selected, it's not showing me the group because you can't group one thing. You have to have two things selected. As soon as you have two things selected, then the group shows up. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because
okay.
it's groupable. Two things are groupable. You can have 20 things, right? So
okay. I think I clicked it. Okay, so ungroup and then.
So now they need to be ungrouped. And then when you head over here, these are all different ways of grouping your shapes. The last one, clicks to exclude, will drop what's on top and knock it out of the bottom, which is exactly what we did before. So if I just do there, that gives me the same effect. I'm going to undo that and show you that if you alt click, it looks like it's the same, but it gives you, look at the effect here in the layer. Okay, so guys, pay attention. I'm going to undo this and watch my layers. These are two separate things still. Okay, I haven't grouped them yet or anything. If I select them both, remember that the first one gives me a compound shape, but it turned into one layer. This one, on the other hand, I'm going to alt and exclude. So visually, these and these are the same visually. But when I look at my layers, the second way of compounding it still has kept my two shapes. So I can like select one of these two shapes and work with them. Like I can select the little internal one and still click and drag and make it bigger or smaller. So it's a compound shape, but I haven't lost the elements that made it exist. Does that make sense? It shows up knocked out, but I still have access to those two individual shapes versus here, this is one shape and this is not its own circle anymore. So we get the same object, the same result, right? It happens to be two different colors, but it's the same result. But I can still keep manipulating the elements that created this compound shape versus not this one. This I'm stuck with whatever width it is. All right. So once again, how I did this, let's move these over and let's do it step by step. Let's do a different shape now. Let's make a rectangle. And we're going to, just to practice, we're going to take this rectangle and duplicate it, right? So we're going to hold down the Alt or Option key and then just pull out a second identical one. You can also do copy paste, copy, if you select copy and paste, if you like to do that, you can right click, copy and paste. But the easiest thing to do is to point to it with your Alt held down and drag out. So you can do it all the different ways that I'm showing you, but the most efficient way is to know the shortcut. So as long as you're on your own and you don't remember it, that's fine. But when I'm here saying, hey, do this one, do your best to do that one. So basically select something with your selection tool that you've made, hold down the Alt Option key, see how my tool turns into two little arrows, and then just click and drag, and you can put this one wherever you want. Okay, so now I have two rectangles. Now, let's go ahead and choose a star. And let's make it a different color. And now let's go ahead and make a star somewhere over here. And then I can either make a different star or, as I said, go to your selection tool and hold down the Option key and pull out another star. So now you have two different shapes, and we could have made just this and then pulled out the copy. But now we're going to repeat what we did there, but with these shapes. So what we're going to do is we're going to knock this star out of the shape. Okay. So maybe now I'm going to have a bit more fun, and I'm going to hold down Shift, because if I pull from one of these without Shift, I'm going to distort it, right? I'm going to hold down the Shift key to make it a bit bigger, and maybe I can rotate it a bit to fit in a way, whichever way that I want it to fit. But I'm going to, so you can still play around with this because they're two separate elements, right? And then I'm going to do that to this one here too. I'm going to make them relatively similar. Again, it doesn't matter what you do, but just showing you that these are right now elements that are not together. All right, so we're going to select these two, and I'm going to knock it out. It doesn't matter if I do it with this tool or with this one, but just to show you the difference between clicking and not clicking, let's go do it with this one. So the knockout effect is this final one, the click to exclude. So select these two, and first just click to exclude, that's all. So if we look up here, I have one compound shape right now, which is that one. It's one layer. Now we're going to select these two and do the same thing, but first I'm going to hold down the Alt or Option key and then click to exclude. So they look the same. Basically, it looks like I did the same thing. Here's the deal. The compound shape is showing up with a little arrow here, which shows me that if I open it up, I still have access to both my rectangle and my triangle. So now I can select my little star, sorry, my rectangle and my star. I can select that top little star, and it's as available to be changed as the other one was. Like I can completely choose to make something else with it, even though they are now, the effect of knocking out is happening. I can change it because it is now still, even though it's grouped and it's one piece and it's knocking out, and I see how it's knocking out, as in it's transparent. It really is knocking it out. But here I'm kind of stuck with what I made as a compound shape, versus here I have complete liberty to keep changing either of the elements. I can now select my rectangle and make it bigger or smaller and make it into a long and thin shape. And then I can, does that make sense what I'm trying to say? The difference between a compound shape that is still malleable versus one that is now not malleable. But I have to be using my layers to comfortably get in to access all the different parts and pieces. Okay, any questions about that? Miss Front and the Pathfinder does the same thing. Yeah.
No, can you refresh just really quickly the shape builder one? How to check out the little donut again? Sorry.
With the shape builder tool, this tool. Yeah, so if I had two shapes, I'm going to go with a star this time.
Shape builder, and then
so I'm going to select one star, and I'm going to select an ellipse, and I'm going to make an ellipse in front of it. Right. I'm going to make a circle and make that circle in the middle of my star. So as long as I have two shapes, yeah. If I select them both, first I have to select them both for any of these tools. Then I go to the shape builder tool, and I can put my mouse over the area that I don't want. Hold down the option key again for minus, option or alt. You're on a PC, so alt. And then if I just drag a line, I knock that little bit out of it.
Oh, okay. Let me see.
I keep changing colors so we can all see that these are different effects. Bright green, use bright green. So now there's many different ways of getting the same thing done. Now, I have some other
I have a question.
move this up here. Yeah.
So we didn't talk about the fact that all of a sudden our background got a different color. Like we had a whatever colored rectangle, and then everything turned into the star color.
Yes.
What if you don't want that?
Yeah, you can't have, well, first of all, the color that takes over, right, is the color that's on top when you compound a piece. So that one takes over. So if you want that other one to be the final color, you have to shift which one's on top, right? So let me just show you what she's talking about. If I have two shapes here, I'm going to have a green circle, and then I'm going to have a blue rectangle, right? So which one is on top is the blue, right? So if I do a knockout or something like that, the one that becomes the color is the one that was on top. Okay, so if my goal was to keep the green, then I should paint this front one green. Does that make sense? Then when you do that knockout, this could have been, the background could have been any color, then it's the green that is going to take over. It's always the top elements color that wins, because you only have one shape. You can't keep it two colors, right? You've made one shape out of it. The other one does not have a color now. So it chooses one, and what it chooses is the one that's on, but I mean the last one you made, or the one that's, think a bit about it, the one that's stacked on top. Okay.
Hey, Diana.
Yeah.
What is the difference between the two Pathfinder keys? There's one that says click to minus front.
Yeah.
Versus click to minus or click to exclude, because when I click on the click to minus front, it keeps the color of the larger background object.
There's a couple of, yeah, I was going to say, when you get to the Pathfinder, it gets a little bit more complicated what it can do. Let's just, it's funny. Sometimes I spend hours, every time I choose a different thing to focus on. And usually sometimes I spend a long time on the Pathfinder. This time I'm deciding to do other tools, but clearly there's an interest in it. And once I show it even a little bit, it wants to be. So here I'm going to do that. I'm going to give this one a deep blue. So my blue is the one that's on top, right? If I were to do this with the shape builder tool, the color always is the one that's on top. Okay, just like what I just showed Monica. But with the Pathfinder, these things means different things. So unite gives us unite. I'm going to undo. You might want to create a shape like this and test them, but always undo each time. Minus front gets rid of whatever's in the front. Now, you might look at this and think, well, which one is the front? Front always means the one that's above, like front is the same as what I call on top. It's the top stack. Okay. So in this case, front is that. So if I select these two and I click to minus front, the one that's going to disappear is the blue one. So in this case, it's not knocking it out. It's kind of different. It's, if I look up here, exclude and minus front in this simple of two shape examples. So here I did the minus front, okay, and it does that. And here is the exclude. And so the effect is different. When you have them next to each other, on top of each other like that, it made the same effect, so to say. But in this case, minus front is get rid of the object that's in front versus exclude. I'm sorry, I did undo. Come on. History. Why won't it undo? 1 second. Thank you. And okay. So yeah, I want my history to be there, actually. So minus front happens to be the same when the shape is in the middle, but look at this. Exclude is really get rid of the things that overlap. So in this case, the overlap was the same as the shape, but in this case, the overlap is different. So see, the only place that got knocked out is the overlapping portion. And that's what exclude means. It's like the pieces that overlap, get rid of that overlap. Does that make sense, you guys? And in this case, it took on that overlapping color shape, which is the blue one. Okay. And then if I say undo, and then this one is to keep only what intersects. So it's going to keep only that little bit. Okay. So those are just the 4 different choices that you have in the Pathfinder. All of which we could have done also with the shape builder, right? We could have just said, well, if I get rid of this little bit right here, then that's equivalent to excluding. But with this case, these shapes did not become one shape. So I kept both of the colors. This is still in one shape and this is another shape. Versus exclude, it turned into one shape. So both took the color. So there's a slight difference in the final effect that after a while it becomes like, okay, you got to study them all and figure out exactly what you want, or just do them and figure it out. You know what I mean? Because they are minutely different in final effect. But just mainly know that the exclude is, if you see the angle, it's whatever intersects. Here, the intersection stays. Here, the intersection gets excluded. Okay. There's even more. I won't bore you with these. Play around with these guys. This is cutting the shapes. I don't even want to go there right now, but this gives you cuts. I'm gonna let you guys be for that for now, and let's continue with our little donut shapes as far as new shapes. But if you have any more questions about this that we did here, like about the color and the overlapping and stuff, any other question about that, you guys? Now remember, this is like a dry tool I'm teaching you. Oh, move this and move that. The question is applying it to things that make it that mean something. So in this case, to a drawing, to the wheels of this thing. So notice that now that we have a transparency, that our black ring can be a black transparent donut. You don't really need to make two perfect half circles, one gray, one white. You could choose to just make, let's grab one of these. I'm going to go ahead and grab the one that's the compound path. Okay, the one that has the option to keep working with it, which in my case was this one. I'm going to hold down the option and put it over here. And now let's make the actual tire for the car. So I'm going to grab this one and fill it with black. Okay, car tires were black. And then what I can do underneath that is I could have a rectangle, right? Let's see, like this, that's grayish. Was it a dark gray? It was a pretty light gray, wasn't it? Let me see. It's even lighter. It's a very light gray. But anyway, just for now to see the thing. So I could just actually angle this 4 to 5 degree angles and put it in here. And then move it behind my shape. Oh, I put it in the compound. I don't want to do that. And move the whole compound path to the top. Where's my black one? Here's my black one. So I could just do that, right? Have a rectangle that has the color underneath, but it's going to be hard to get one to fit really comfortably, right? So I'm going to start showing you how to create shapes now without them being these very basic shapes. Let me move this. Take the stroke off. No stroke. There we go. So if I do no stroke, I could do that. I could make my rectangle a little bit skinnier so that it's the center. And I'm going to make it lighter gray. So that light gray. Yeah, and so if I look over here, that's kind of what I have going there. Now, let me take the stroke off of the screen one. No stroke. So now the problem here is that if these were to go on top of another color, the white doesn't exist. So I actually need to make the same thing but white. So I'm going to select this gray bit and also holding down the option key. Oops, sorry. I need to do the gray one. Let me move this out of the way. I'm going to hold this, hold down the option key and get a duplicate of it and fill it with white. Okay, and then I can just put this on top. But now that piece is actually white. If I select everything, it's actually white. See, it's not just a white fill. So basically I have my compound shape and then a black and a white piece that are hiding it. So that I'm going to give it a little stroke so you guys can see it for now. I'm going to give it a little red stroke so that it's, more obvious. And that's what I have going down there. Does that make sense? So that's one way to do it. Or I could create the two semicircles that are square and put it on top. So I'm going to show you how to do that too. But this was just my goal to teach you compound shapes. Now I'm going to do all that again. Grab one of your, let me put that there. Grab one of your compound shapes, right? That you like, the one that had the possibility of changing the size of the circle, the one that you did with the Alt key, and then just duplicate it. Okay, and if I go over here, this blue one was my compound shape that had the shape, and so hover over the Option key and drag it out. Now, if you don't have 3 artboards like I do, you might need to add more artboards. Make sure to select nothing, click away, like click here and do nothing, and then you'll see the edit artboards. Click on edit artboards and then add 1 or 2 artboards with this plus sign. Okay. And then when you do that, you'll add a few more new artboards. So I'm going to undo that because I don't need a new artboard, but in case you guys created a new file with only 1 artboard, that's how you would get more artboards. So if I lost you at the point where you don't have a compound shape, because maybe you never did actually get to make one, a compound shape with 2 arrows, then this is a good time to say, okay, I need a hand, share your screen, and I'll walk you through it. Because now I want to make sure that everyone has gotten to this place where you have a compound shape of the kind that ends up with 2 layers. Now, why do I want that? Because I want to be able to say, to have the flexibility of saying, well, I want this circle to be a little bit here. Let me first make it a different color. I'm going to go with a bright purple one right now. I haven't used purple yet, have I? No. So I'm going to go with purple. I want the flexibility of being able to select this inner one and go, you know what, for these tires or whatever, I want to make it smaller. So you want the flexibility of still being able to manipulate this shape. So what if you want the tire to be fat like that instead of skinny like that? You can still do it as long as it's a compound shape that is maneuverable. Okay, so does anyone need help creating this first one? So give me a yes if you have the compound shape. Give me a no if you don't have it. And remember, this is the time. First I demo it, I show it, I talk about it, and now it's time for everyone to make sure they have their own. If you haven't done it yet, let me know and I'll give you a one-on-one hands-on help to get it done.
Hi, Diana, it's Leticia again. I made
Yeah.
the compound shape, but now I can't add an artboard. I click in the gray area, you said?
You can't add a what for it? I'm sorry.
An artboard.
Oh, so first you have to have nothing selected, right? So click away so that nothing is selected. That's why I said click in the gray, click on the white area, just nothing has to be selected. So click on some neutral area. And then in the properties, you'll see over here that it says edit artboards. Click on edit artboards. And
mine
then,
doesn't come up for some reason. It just says.
well, then go to the artboard tool over here. Click on the artboard tool and your artboard tools will come up too. Over here.
Okay, sorry, which one's the artboard tool?
Artboard tool. It's like a little fishy that's diving or something.
Okay, there
Once you have the artboard tool, then your tools over here would say artboards. You can say click on the plus every time you click on a plus, a new artboard will be made. You can also make and draw a new artboard, you know, with the artboard tool, but then it won't be exactly the same size as to what you have.
Okay,
that's how you make a new artboard. You're welcome. And then leave the artboard tool and then you'll be like done. They won't be movable anymore, and that you can click on your own. All right. Now the inside part, what I did in this case was to make 2 rectangles. Okay, so just make 2 rectangles and then put them one next to each other and paint one white and paint one black. Okay, I'm going to take their stroke off and I'm going to select the stroke and take the stroke off on both because I had defaulted with strokes, so they're off. And then I'm going to fill them with black, put them next to each other. And then one is going to be filled with white and the other one with a very light gray. And now those two shapes I can go and put on top of this and move them. And once those shapes don't stick out and everything is good, then I can put the, go ahead and go over here and put the purple one above them. And then I can group the whole thing. Make a little group. Okay, so this tire here, I can now go ahead and give them all. I'm going to now take this off, make this whole thing one group right now, so that now I can just move it around. And then I can copy it and head over here and go to the one that I've been building, and we need to put, 4 of these, although looks like these have these have a different shade on them, of course, because of the different weight of the trailer, but that's fine. We'll put these 2 here. So I'm going to paste, and now I'm going to make it, hold down the shift key all the time, and I'm going to make it the right size for these tire wheels. So I think it was kind of like that. Remember, always holding the shift key to not distort anything, because it's very hard to get back into. Once you've got one in the right position, don't bother reshaping another one, just this one that's ready, hold down the Option key and pull it out to get an exactly the same one. And I think this gray is much darker than the gray than the original thing, so I can still go ahead and get in there and change that to a bit lighter gray. I'm going to show you a different way to get into these things other than going in through the layers. But yeah, how's it going? Does everyone have their little tires in here? All right. So are we at this stage still of creating them? All right. If you're just working at it and going at it, fine. If you need a hand from me, let me know.
I need a hand.
All right, cool. So is it the kind of hand that is a quick question, or do you want to just share your screen and I'll walk
No,
you through
just
it?
can we, okay, I made the 2 rectangles. I guess I'm just moving slower, going a little fast, but
That's fine. But I
for
just
me.
do it. I demo it. I do it. And then I stop back and then I say, okay, let me help you all catch up. So
Okay.
it's fine to be wherever you're at. Do you want to?
Okay, so I have the 2 rectangles, and then did you make the circle after? I'm sorry.
I had already made the circle, but let me.
Okay, I do have my circle.
It's not that I didn't make it before. I used one of the ones I had made up on top, and just
Okay.
did a Option drag so that I got a copy, so I didn't have to redo it. So I'm just trying to make my life easier. Just hold down one of the ones that you already did, hold down your Option key and pull out, and then you'll get your copy.
Okay.
And then at first the rectangles will be, so I'm gonna undo that.
Okay.
Will be on top, right? And then now how I got them to be underneath is I played with layers. I went ahead and dragged so over here I had my rectangles on top when I created them to see the shape. Now these 2 rectangles, you put them in whatever order or position you want. They don't need to be perfectly 45. I just did them 45 degrees. Make sure they don't stick out. And
Did you group the rectangles first?
These are not grouped. No, these I just selected both at the same time, and then they can move them at the same time. You say select one, select the other, or just kind of do like this and select both and then just move them. But you could have grouped within group just fine too. You could have groups within groups. Since these are going to always stick together, it's not a bad idea to group them first. Right. And so there you go. I've grouped them. And then you put them, in this case, over them. measure, you know, like if they're still too big or still too small, hold down the corner and get them until you see that. But you might have to play around with the size of that inner circle. And then the most important thing I did is then flip the order. Do you want to, if you're stuck on something and want to share the screen, let me know. Otherwise, if you're just slowly moving forward, that's perfect. Hi, Saul. Nice to see you.
Yeah, I guess I'm stuck. I can't.
All right, so share your screen.
Let me
It's
see.
usually much easier to help when I see where you're at, and then I can
Okay.
actually figure out how to help you.
Okay, so I have this one, this circle.
Okay, and let me make sure, is it a compound? Yeah, so you have that circle. Go ahead and yeah, put your, go to, no, wait.
I think I need to make this bigger, right?
Yeah, no, but what you need to make is the inner part bigger, but right now you've got the whole circle selected, you see? So if you try to make it bigger, the whole thing will get bigger, and all you want is the inner circle. So go, yeah, I'm looking at the circle. Look at your, you need to open your layers a little bit more so I can see which layer is which.
I think
Okay,
that might not
so
be.
yeah, that one is not a circle, that's a compound circle.
Okay, so
That one,
this.
the blue one is, okay. I mean, it is compound circle, but it doesn't, I'll teach you how to deal with those, but you don't know yet how to deal with the ones that are not circle. I'll be teaching you that too. But now go ahead and grab that blue one, go up to the shape.
Oh.
Go up to the shape. Put
Should I?
your, hold down the option key. And no, hold that, the circle is empty. So you have to hold it from the blue. The circle is empty. It's, yeah, it's like a donut. You can't pick it up from the center, right? So click it from there. Wait, hold on. What are you doing? Undo whatever you did, Command Z. Controller, Command, hold down the Control Z. Okay, now, oh, because you don't have the white, okay, you're using a different arrow tool, which is a completely different creature. Go to your arrows and have the black arrow, that one. Yeah, the other arrow tool. Okay, yeah, it's a very, that's why things were doing weird. It's a very different arrow. Now, put your mouse over the blue, not the center. Again, the center is empty now. If it's well done, it's empty. Okay, hold down your Alt key and then hold down your Alt, and now just drag. Drag. You were doing it fine, and then you did like a double click. Undo, whatever you're doing, undo, Command Z.
Control Z.
Control Z. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I don't click on it. I just hold over it.
Wait. I'm looking at your layers and you still have something weird. You have only one of your circles selected because of what the tool that you had before. The star is nothing. No, the star, we're not talking about the star, so it doesn't matter. We're going to the bottom blue circle.
Oh, this one.
Yeah. So you need to select the entire thing. Yeah. You didn't notice, but you only had one of the circles internally selected, and that's because of the tool you used before. I haven't shown you that tool yet, so I'll show you it later. Now it'll be easy. Now go and click with your mouse over the blue area, hold down the Alt key and pull out, and you'll pull out a copy. Yeah, perfect. Okay. Now move this copy over next door so that it's a clean start. Move it over to the next dartboard. Yeah, perfect. And yeah, you need to drag over a little bit. Okay. And move it over. Perfect. Now go back and grab your two rectangles. Now to move back and forth, the easiest thing is to hold down your space bar and then kind of scooch over. Okay, select those two. Yeah, but you also have the orange there, so select just those two. You already, okay, you didn't need to take them out of alignment, but okay, go ahead and grab those two. And now just cut, say Command or Control X, or move them over. That's fine, cut and paste. Okay, now wait, let's stop. Before you do what you're just doing right now, I'm going to teach you a better way, because what you're doing right now and moving with those zoom bars is really hard. It's you know, it drives you crazy. So put your mouse somewhere on the image again. Yeah. Hold down your space bar.
Mhm.
There, see that hand? Now with your
Yeah.
mouse, click and drag to the left or to the right. You see how you're moving
Mhm.
yourself around? It'll take a little bit of getting accustomed, but it's much more accurate. It helps you move. So once you get it, it'll work better when you're not on Zoom. Sharing your screen slows things down, but then you
Okay.
go exactly where you want to go. Okay, select those two. Do them on top of this circle. And then maybe you need to make them a little bit skinnier or the circle bigger, one or the two, but you can make this a little bit skinnier. Like, see how the tips are going to,
Oh, right here.
yeah. So hold on, shift. No, yeah, more like that way. Yeah. Okay, that's enough. That's probably too skinny. We'll see, and move them to the middle. Yeah, I think you made them a bit too small, so now make them a bit bigger again. Okay.
Mhm.
Now put an arrow in the corner there. Now click and drag a little bit to flip them.
Okay. I think all that was because I had the wrong.
You had the wrong tool. Yeah, exactly.
I couldn't rotate anything.
Yeah. Now you're fine. But now go down to get your oval, your double. Now go grab in your layers, go grab your circle that you've been using, which I believe is the top one or the bottom one. Select, yeah, but not the individual pieces, which is what you're about to do, but the one that holds both. So that those clicks, go back to where you just said this one. Yeah, one above. There, that clicks and holds the entire circle. Okay, so select that, click there.
Mhm.
No, that's the other one because it's on the other page because there's no boundary. So go to the one above, to the circle, the blue circle that's above. There you go. Now we've got this one. See, now you need to move this layer above the gray ones. Okay, so put your mouse on the same place you were before. Nope, the same place you were before. Go back to where you clicked on the, yeah, up. Yeah. Now go select the place that there's a C that's the actual layer. Go move to the left a tad more to the left. Yeah, that one, the layer. Click on that. Exactly there. Good. Now this layer you can drag up until you go above those two rectangles. So just click and drag and you'll see that. Yeah, there we go. Keep going up and drop. Perfect. Oh. And now you've moved them below. Now the two rectangles, you still have strokes on them. So go to the rectangle layer, go to the layers. Yeah, click on and then take the stroke off. Go to, no, you don't take stroke off like that. Go to the stroke. I guess you could go all the way to 0 or you go to stroke color. It's okay. You did it. But if not, you go to the stroke color and you choose no stroke. Yeah. Yep. That would have been a solution, but you got it to 0. Okay, cool. And now you got it. The other one still has a stroke. Yeah, perfect. And then, whoops, looks like you still left it with a stroke. So, because you select the circle now. So you need to go select the blue. It's going to be harder, so you need to use a layer. Yeah, that blue one, perfect. Take the stroke off of that one. There you go. And now you can, I guess now that I think about it, the shade was really on top, so you can invert that whole thing. But you can select that whole thing now and bring it to the card trailer and keep working on it there. So select the whole thing, say group it. You can also do Command or Control G to group it. I like shortcuts myself. And then do a copy.
Copy,
so
Control C.
Control C. And then go to my card trailer and paste it in. So go all the way up to my card trailer.
Well, Control C, but is it?
No, it needed to be selected. Before it was selected, now it's not again. So you
Oh.
need to select the whole thing. Okay, Control C. Okay. And now go up to my card trailer, your other file. You're doing nothing here. You copied it. Now you're going up to my card trailer. And here you can paste it. Control V. Yay for moving with the hand tool. Awesome. And then Control V to paste.
Where did it go?
I don't know.
Maybe I
it
didn't copy.
Maybe it didn't get copied. So go back to the untitled file and try again. You can also right click and copy, or whatever is easier, but okay. My car trailer and paste. There it is. All right, so now you can resize it, recolor it, reshape it, whatever you need. Hold on the shift key, remember? Hold on the shift key because it's distorting.
Okay.
The
So
shift key keeps it.
These and
the shift key keeps it proportional, not distorted. And it's a circle. We really want to distort a circle. So keep the shift key held down the whole time. And there you go. Now I'll let you do it.
All right, thank you.
Because all these things work much slower when you're actually on Zoom. So like it's all not responding as quickly and you're on the right track. So perfect. All right. Does everyone else need any help with their half shaded compound shaped tires? Nope. All right. Now I'm going to share my screen. And for the second one, I can just go ahead for the other trailer wheels that have a different shade. I can just go ahead and click and drag one of these out, right? Put it in there. And by the way, you notice that I'm dragging it out and it's in exactly the same line. I'm also holding a shift. If I only drag it out and I put it here, it might be exactly right or not. But if I drag it out holding the shift key, it only can go exactly parallel, like it cannot move other than exactly parallel. So that helps me keep it in the exact same line by holding that shift key. So I'm going to move one over here, but I'm going to grab this internal part. So to grab this internal part, I'm going to do it with the layers. Now I'm going to teach you another way then with layers, but right now I'm looking up here and I'm seeing that the one that's selected is this middle one because I have 4 identical ones, right? So it's this one. I'll open it up. And so I'll grab I want to just grab the 2 rectangles. So I'm going to go click, shift, click, and move them there. And it would seem that I need to move it. Just these 2 internal things and move them down a bit. And I probably need to just get rid just the gray one a little bit bigger or something like that. And then that should be enough. And then I can put them under the car trailer. So now this one has to be under my car trailer, which is way down there. And I believe that's what we had going on here. Let's see. Yeah, something like that. So now that I have that set up, I can hold down the Option key and drag and put another one somewhere back here. I don't remember, to make it aerodynamic. Oh, a bit further front. Obviously, I'm not like versed on what makes for the right positioning for a wheel on a trailer. There we go. So now I've got my 4 wheels set up. And I could just go and select all the grays and change the color of the grays, but we're going to learn a bit about colors and see how I could have made that a bit easier. But right now I have to do it individually. All right. Give me a big ol' yes when you're done with all of this. Meanwhile, if you're working on it, that's good. And then I'll start answering questions, but go ahead and get all your tires. Yes, Monica.
For whatever reason, I cannot select. Sometimes it selects, sometimes it doesn't select.
All right, can you share your screen and let's see, because that's the kind of stuff that I can figure out when I see what's happening.
Right here.
So when you showed up, well, I'm waiting for her to share her screen, just so you know, what we're doing right now is working on compound shapes. So this whole circle here, we did it based on compound shapes. So that's the different ways of getting getting a compound shape is really what we spent most of the morning on. Okay, well, it's not been all morning, but yes.
Okay,
go ahead.
So here's my
Yeah.
wheel.
Yeah.
And they are two different things.
Uh-huh. Well, I had grouped them, but
Well,
yeah.
I need to get the window out here. So I want to group. I do the shortcut, right? Command G.
Well, but you're not selecting it all, so you can't group stuff that you don't have all the parts selected.
See, that's what I mean. It's not selecting.
So can
I'm
you
on my
zoom?
move
Okay,
tool.
stop.
Yeah.
Can you zoom down a little bit so I can see
Yes.
more of what you're on? Okay, so you have something else going on. What's that circle there?
That was
There,
just me trying to do this.
Okay, got it. But maybe that was what was in the way. Let me see. Okay, so try to select that now.
No.
Okay, so do you go open your layers because something's happening? It's probably in between something else. Go to your layers.
To my Paris.
All right, so let's figure out. Go up to the top two black circles because those are the ones that we're working on, and let's select and see which one it is. So go to the little ball next to it. Is this one it? Nope, that's that one.
That's the copy.
So go to the one underneath. Okay, so this here is just your two circles, but I don't see anywhere your two rectangles. Where are your rectangles?
I think they're here.
Turn the eyeball on enough to see if that's what they are. No, the eyeball on enough.
Oh,
well, that shows it.
Yeah.
That shows me again that it is that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So now select that.
Select.
Hold down.
What?
Yeah, what you did. Exactly right. Hold down Shift and now select the ball of the rectangles. Yeah.
Like this.
Hold Shift. Yeah. Now you've got both selected. Now group them. So now it's all one group.
Okay. So I can do a
Command G. Phew. Now it's one group. Now you'll be able to select it and move it around.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But when it's a group, you don't have to do that whole drag thing. Just click on it. Just click on it.
Oh yeah. Okay. Good.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So you had the two different. You had the two different groups, but they weren't integrated. And so when you clicked on one, the top one, what was happening? Just to be clear, the top one was a group. So when you try to click to what's underneath, it wasn't letting you because it creates its own little shape. And the only thing selecting was the tires. The inner stuff wasn't coming with it. So you had to select it separately. And now that you group them, it all comes together.
Okay.
All right.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Remember, if you're done with all your tires, give me a green yes. And if I'm not getting green yeses and you're just working on it, that's fine. But if you're stuck and need a hand, then give me a red no or raise your hand or speak up. There's so few of you, you can just ask for help. I'm going to show you some more nuances of working with these compound paths now when we continue so that you'll see a different way. All right. So how are we doing, Tess? I haven't heard from you yet. Is all good? Any questions? I'm not hearing you and I'm not seeing anything in the chat, Tess. So if you have a question or if everything is good or bad, just let me know where you're at. I want to see. I want to just know. Linda, how are you doing? Cool. Ed, you have a little yes. All right, so I'm not hearing from Tess. So Tess, you might have stepped away. Oh, you're a yes. Okay. And I know everyone is working on it. So cool. Ali is a yes. Gustavo, ¿cómo te va? ¿Lo estás haciendo? That's fine, Tess. I was just checking in before I move on to make sure that everything was happening. Gustavo, are you okay? I need to get my lozenges, which I don't know where I left them. I left them in the bag I was teaching in person yesterday, and I left them in my class briefcase. I'll go get one during break. All right. Okay, so now, cool. Let's go ahead and go over to this file where you did all this work. Go ahead and give it a save and call it compound shapes. And yeah, I'm trying to remember where I was keeping all my Illustrator files. I believe I had it. I'm still in my documents. Where have I been saving my Illustrator files? Here. So I'm going to call this one compound shapes practice. Right. And then get a little screenshot of that, of the stuff that you've been doing, so that then you can post it. Now, what I really like in the screenshots, I said before, is if you can show me also your layers. It really helps me see much more if you're actually what you're actually doing, and if you have a clean understanding of what's happening. A lot of times I can tell based on your layers. So click and drag across that. I always remember how when Saul, you weren't here, but I showed all the work on the Padlet that you've been posting, which is amazing stuff. But I remember when you first shared with me your layers, when I first met you, you had a mess in your layers. And by looking at your layers, I was able to say, well, how about work with it? Every time I look at the layers that you post right now, you're doing so well. And you have, you're really organizing your files so much better. So yeah, layers tell me a lot and allow me to help you figure out where you might need to do a little bit more more work to get yourself to be more efficient, right? I mean, okay. And then let's head over here. And what we have left to do now, before we tackle the donut, is I'd like to talk about how to get shapes that are not so simple. Like this is not a rectangle or a circle or whatever, but already with what we did today, can you guys, it's basically the same tools that we've used. By having the same tools that we've used, we can make this really easily. Who wants to maybe talk me through it? Think how you could, these two internal shapes as I'm talking about, which clearly are not.
Can you share your screen?
Oh, thank you. Sorry. All right. So here I was thinking I was sharing this whole time. Not that I did anything different, but these semi bits of circles with hard corners, we're going to make those two right now. But the tools to make those are exactly the same tools that we just used. Can somebody walk me through what they think I should do? How I could do it with what we learned this morning?
Maybe make a circle, then 2 rectangles to take up that space.
Yes, exactly. Well, no, I mean, yes, I see what you mean, to take up the space. I wasn't thinking about that, but yes, exactly. You start with 2 circles and 2 rectangles, but you know what? You're right. Why not even do it as one shape? I was going to have 2 individual ones, but what you just said makes me think, well, I could actually have it be 2. What you said makes me think an even better idea than what I had. So good idea, Leticia. I was going to do this one and then do that one, but you're right. We can actually do it as one shape, which will make it even better.
Well, that's what I was thinking too. but yeah, let's see what you thought.
Yeah. So first of all, we have this shape already created, right? If we go create a circle right now, it might or not be exactly the same degree as that one, right? It might be or not exactly the same degree as that one, but we already have this shape created. So first of all, let's start by making a duplicate of this shape. So I'm going to go ahead and hit this option and drag out. So here I have this shape. Let's just make it a little bit darker orange already. Now, if I go to any of these oranges here, they're not really darker. So I'm going to have to actually create a color, right? And since I have this here right now, I haven't really been teaching you how to create colors. So for now, let's just pick it up. Do you remember how to pick up this color? Eyedropper. Click on that. That gives me that color. So now, since this was already selected, it changed into that color. If it hadn't been changed into that color, then select it and color it with that. And now I have this shape, right? Now, if I make it a bit smaller, so let's put it exactly over that, then hold down the shift key and hold down the option key. Remember, the option key makes it smaller from the center. Then when I do like this, I can get it. Does that make sense? I can just get it to be, I made a copy. I'm sorry. Don't hold down the option key. It makes me a double. In this case, it doesn't work. So now I have my inner, the inner corner of my two, that, right? Of that shape. I have that. Oh, I'm noticing that this has a stroke on it. So we should probably put a stroke on it. No, it doesn't have to be exact. But... All right. So how do I now create these lines? And Leticia said something about rectangles. And in my case, in this real car, I'm noticing now that the front ends here and this is higher. So this back window is higher. But when I created mine, I made, it's a little bit higher. So you all created your own. But basically what I need to do now is I need to get rid of most of this except for this bit and that bit, right? That's my goal. So I think the easiest way to do it is using all the tools that we've just learned, by the way. I'm going to make some rectangles, and just to keep it easy, I'm going to make them a different color. I usually don't bother changing colors, but just so that we're all clear what's happening. Oh, I didn't mean to change the color of that. Sorry. I just want, problem is when something is selected and you change color, it changes, and I wanted my new rectangles. I need to deselect. Then I'm going to change the color. And now I'm going to make a rectangle, right? And I'm going to first have this one that divides the windows. So I'm going to make one. That's the break time. So I'm going to finish doing this and then we're going to take a break. So I'm making this space right there, right? And then I'm going to make another rectangle here and another one there. So I'm going to make rectangles that delineate my shapes, right? And then I'm going to make another rectangle about yay. And then I'm going to make them big enough to cover up the rest. So I'm first showing you what I'm doing. And then you guys, so by the time I finish with all those rectangles, see how that shape, those two are the windows, right? So now if I select all three of these rectangles, 1, 2, and 3, and the bottom shape. Now remember, we do have stuff underneath. So this, if you have an issue with that being also selected, one thing we can do is go and at this point, lock everything else, like everything. You can click here and drag up to lock everything else so that we don't mess it up. So then the only things left are these that I'm making right now. Does that make sense? That way I can't be in trouble with messing the original stuff. We should have done that earlier because we began to work on this. Usually we work on the sample one here. I should have worked on this one, but since I began working here, so I just dragged my mouse. I click here in the lock area and just drag up on all the layers that are not mine. But I put my new ones up on top. If your new ones were not necessarily up on top, you can move them up. And like I left my three green rectangles there and my darker brown one up so that it's easier. And now, so I'm going to grab this and I'm going to make a duplicate just so that I keep both samples here. You don't need to make a duplicate, but it's just for sample purposes. Now it's shape builder tool minus option. And I'm going to just drag across everything that I don't want. And that leaves me the little windows, which I'm going to go put up there. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so again, it's all stuff that you've already learned.
Well,
But now we're applying it. Right, so I'm happy to do this again for anyone who needs a hand, but basically the question is, where do you strategically place these rectangles to then get rid? And your shape might be a little bit different, so you need to adapt it to yours, but basically we imitate the bottom shape so that we get the exact same curve, make it a tad smaller, and then just take away what we don't want. I
Please
think
do
of
it again.
sometimes like a sculpture. You know how they say that the sculptures, the big blocks of marble, and they come in with a chisel and take away what you want. I find this shape builder tool to be like, you got to look at a shape and go, what do I take away, right? What did you say, Ed? I'm sorry, we spoke over each other.
Please do it again.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to put these parts and pieces underneath. So I'm going to make a new artboard here. Give me a second so that I can put some of these parts and pieces out of the way. I'm going to bring it down here just because it's easier in sharing, not because I care if it's to the right or left, but then you all can see all the parts and pieces. So let me take all this, put it down here. Okay, so the first thing I did was, and the alarm's calling for a break, so I just want to finish this piece before I give you guys a break. So the first thing I should have done is I reminded you to lock everything that we don't want to affect. That way we don't be moving crazily things all over the place. Let me actually get rid of these. Hold on, I'm gonna make sure that these stay where they are, which are these two. So I'm gonna drag them down just so that I don't have to completely redo what I did. There we go. So now I've just left mine. Okay, so this is the stuff that I'm learning with. So basically I grabbed the shape, the car, and created a duplicate. Okay, just holding the Option key. I'm going to bring it down here. Once I had that shape duplicated, right? Oh, locked the wrong one. Give me a second. I'm just trying to protect what I already did. Okay, so this is the shape that I duplicated. Now I need a shape just like it, but a little bit smaller, right? So I'm going to color it darker. Go over here and pick up the color again, because I didn't save it as, see, that's the problem of not saving it as a swatch. Oh, I believe we had saved, I think we had the first day we had saved these as a swatch. So if I look over here, I should have, yeah, I do have that darker color there. I had saved it as a swatch. Okay, so now this is exactly the same size. So what I did is I made it a little bit smaller. So hold down the Shift key and make it smaller and recenter it. Okay. Now, once you have that shape set up, you basically have to take away anything that's not those, that's not these two sizes. So I made rectangles right here, and then we can do it in parts and pieces. So what I'm going to do it this time, I'm going to do it in different parts. So I'm going to make a rectangle here that divides my big window from my small window. Okay. So I'm going to get rid of that so I don't mess it up. So this and this, if I select them both, I can select my shape builder, and this is the part that's different. If I were to not press the Alt key, then I'm joining these pieces. So suddenly the brown becomes part of it. I'm going to undo that. Instead, I want to hold the Option key, and then I can just drag a line across the two bits and pieces that I don't want there and there. And then I've got the beginning of my shapes. Then I can grab another rectangle and drag about that big. Once again, I'm going to change its color for it to be easier in the teaching. Right. So then again, you select all these shapes, get your shape builder and get rid of what you don't want, which is all the blue stuff, right? And then in this case, my window, the back one has to be a little bit smaller. So I made another rectangle. And then you can select these two and select your shape builder and again, get rid of what you don't want. So basically these shapes, what they do, these rectangles, you keep cutting away until you get what you don't want. Okay, so it's just a way of cutting out stuff. But the important thing is always after you make your rectangle, again, you don't have to change its color. This is for me to show you the brown needs to stay and the blue needs to go. So then you have to select all the pieces. That's the part where most people get the shape builder wrong, is they forget to select both. Then the shape builder works. And I'm going to get rid of anything blue in this case, which includes the blue that I don't need and the blue that's overlapping. Okay, by holding down the Option key and dragging across both. And then there I've made my two windows. Bring this back and there I have my shapes. Now, I've shown it, but it's not the same as doing it. So now can I, if anyone still needs a hand with this, which is 100% understandable, share your screen and then I can walk you through it to do it.
Yeah, I did mine a little differently with 3 rectangles, but do I need to unite them first before I use the shape builder or no?
No, you just need to select them. Yeah, there's no need to unite them. I mean, you can, but there's no real need. What happens is when you have a lot of little bits and pieces, if you unite them, then one fell swoop gets rid of all of it. So it's easier. If you don't unite them, then you have to go in and kind of take off little bits and pieces here and there. If you know what I mean? No?
Okay.
Like here, let me explain what I just said so it's clear. This one here, let me copy it as a sample. Let me.
Oh, you need to share your screen.
Oh, I had stopped sharing because I thought you were going to share. Sorry. Thank you. So this piece here is made out of, this rectangle is made up of lots of little pieces, right? So when I select everything, right, to take things away, then I have to be careful to make sure to get this and this and that and that. But then see, these little bits are left here and that little bit is left here and that little bit is left here. And then I had a little bit left here and left here because I wasn't very clear. If instead, the question that Leticia just said is, should I unite them? Well, if I were to click, it's really only 3 rectangles, click, 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 unite them first, right? I said, no, it's not needed. But now when you undo, it's quicker to get rid of everything because I only have 2 big pieces, right? So just doing that takes care of everything. Right. And I guess I still have this in the wrong place. So if you unite them, it might be easier, but it's not necessary. So that was just a way of making it work. Okay. Does anyone need a hand to create their 2 windows? Ed, I showed it to you again, but I didn't help you in specifically. So do you need to share your screens so we can get this done?
I got it. Thank you.
Got it. Okay. How about y'all give me a big yes if you're done with your car windows. And hopefully this is giving you ideas. It's not about this car. It's about seeing how, think of a shape. And yes, next after this, we're going to start drawing. We could have drawn some of these shapes, right? But many times when you want very geometrical shapes like these that we're doing here, it's actually easier to start with geometrical shapes and take away than to actually draw them. But drawing is also another way of doing it. And so we're going to work on that. Okay, so I'm seeing some yeses. Monica, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm working on it. I have the selection problem again, so trying to remember how to solve it.
Okay, so let's see again. Maybe there's something else happening that I can help you with. Do you want to
Sure.
Let me stop my share. Okay. And yeah, go ahead and maybe there's something else we need to consider that's happening. Well, let me see. So when you said you
Okay,
have a selection
so-
problem, yeah.
So I have this part here,
Mm-hmm.
and now I want to cut off this,
Yes.
right? So now I want to select them, and
Let me just see.
again,
Stop 1 second. Stop 1 second. Remember that the first thing I said is to maybe lock everything. So you have this example at the bottom that's locked. See at the very your bottom thing of them all. Look at your layers. See how it's already locked.
Mhm.
So when you try to do your little drag, you're dragging over something that's not really empty background. It's actually a selected but locked piece. So that's that effect that you're getting. Go and try to click on it again. Go try to click to do that drag
Where?
on
Here?
that anything purple. Yeah, go ahead and try to do it. Drag on that and see how you're getting like all that weird stuff
Right.
happening. That's because it's locked. That's that thing that's happening. It's because you're dragging on that and it's
Okay.
locked. So it kind of shifts color on the edges, but nothing is happening. Why? Because it's locked. So that's, I was just explaining why all that thing is flickering. It's because there's an actual image there that you're clicking on,
Right.
but it's not moving. All right. So now, why are you, so now show me what you are not able to do.
So I'm trying to combine these two shapes, right? I'm
Mhm.
trying to
Yeah.
select these two, so I'm going outside.
And clicking, yeah. So go over to
And-
the white and let's see what's happening, because can you click and drag there and make a box? Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
looks like you
I
can. So what's happening there?
But I want the image underneath, right? So I have my reference point.
Yeah, so let me see. I'm gonna put mine like you have on top of here and try to select. And no, I'm able, I was just wondering if it, because it's locked, that something's happening, but no, it works fine. I'm just testing. So what else?
Right.
Now back out. Let's see if there's any other weird shape happening or no. And then when you try to do it over here, now try it again.
Or
Yeah,
like here.
yeah. So you can't.
I get
it's
all
like-
these pink things, but
So let's do this to see if maybe some other weird stuff is happening. Why don't you lock? It's like you have another layer there. Why don't you lock that second layer? You made a layer out of it, which I didn't, but never mind. Yeah, now you've locked your entire layer. Go see if that makes a difference. Go and try to drag now.
it
Yeah.
did.
It's
Oh,
like you had
interesting.
other bits and pieces there, but what are those brown bits and pieces? Oh, they're
They
down
were
in the
like all
second
kinds,
page.
yeah, there were all kinds
Okay.
of shapes that I made, so I could eventually
Yeah,
make donuts.
There was, I try never to work with separate layers, just separate objects, because layers do something different. As you can see by clocking that layer, it
Right.
worked. But so it's like
So-
you're trying to work with one layer on top of another, and it was not
Right.
happy. So anyway, there you go.
So how can I unlayer this? Or I don't even know how
Oh.
that happened.
Well,
Of
you can
course.
grab all the parts and pieces that are in layer 2, drag them to layer 1, and then get rid of layer 2, for example. So
Okay.
select that. Yeah, go to the
That.
right side. No, go to the right little, no,
Here.
don't close it. Don't close it. Open it up again so we can see all the pieces. Go over to that little right dot. Yeah. And now that selects all those pieces. Now grab them. Like go to the word rectangle.
No.
No. Go down to the word rectangle.
Rectangle.
Go
Oh,
to
here.
the top one. Yeah. Select. Hold down the shift key and then go all the way down to the word ellipse, which is the last one on that second layer, and click. No, top, that one, and click. No, I didn't want you to move it. I didn't want you to drag it. I just want you to select them. So click, shift, click. Select the top one. Now, just move to the bottom pink ellipse and hold down your shift.
I
There you
see.
go. And now, yes, grab and put them in layer 1. Oh, we locked layer 1. So hold on, unlock layer 1.
Unlock layer 1. Okay.
And now do the same thing and put it on top. Yeah. And now go up and select layer 2 and right click and delete. Just on the layer, just the there's no object on it. Yeah, there, right click.
I am right clicking.
It's not letting you delete it. Then now that it's selected. Okay, so then now that it's selected, relax. Go down to the little trash can at the bottom.
Okay.
And there
There
you
we
go.
go.
And now you have everything
Okay.
on one layer, but you can still go and unlock, you can still lock the parts and pieces that you don't want, but now
Like this
it'll
one
be
down
easier.
here.
Yeah,
Okay.
it'll be easier to
Well,
work.
let's see if it works. Ah, this is ridiculous.
It was fine before. So you have pieces hiding there. What's that
Yeah,
hiding
that's like
piece?
a little rectangle.
Okay, but it's underneath.
yeah.
And so there's something hiding that's under what you're supposed to.
Okay, now I have those two.
Yeah. It's like you have pieces. See how you have pieces that are cut already? Go grab that rectangle.
Well, this one is cut. That was my first cut and it worked.
Okay,
somehow.
and then you have that black rectangle. The orange rectangle that's on
This
top.
one, yeah.
And you can select them both individually. No, that one looks like it's, try to select that rectangle, that one.
Yeah, yeah.
So why
it's
can
just
you
a
not select
rectangle.
both at the same time? Then go ahead and say click, shift, click, and let's see if that works. Why is it like shift, click the rectangle,
Uh-huh.
hold down your shift key and click on that semicircle with a little tip. Now you've selected both. So that's plan
Okay.
B. I don't know why you're not able to do that, but anyway, now that's that way. You know, there's always two ways to select, right? The other one with the shape.
Right.
Now grab
Okay, so
your
now I go
shape builder tool. Hold down the option key and drag across all of that. Yeah.
Okay.
And there you go. Now
Yeah.
you're in your shape builder tool. So yeah. That needs to be
Somehow
above.
needs to be above. Yeah, I don't even know where it is.
You know what?
Oh, there it is. But it is above.
I feel like there's some kind of weird thing happening, like some kind of compound path situation. There's no way that this is underneath. Go to the properties and let's see what's happening with that piece. It's selected and it's not even showing you.
And it's interesting. It says it's white, but it's clearly not
Yeah,
white.
yeah, and it's weird. It's like it's part of a compound path. Can you bring that thing that you're doing over the car, bring it out here, like that semi, there's that line. It's like it was transparent because you could see through it to it, remember?
It is. I kept it at an opacity
Oh, that
of
was on purpose.
75. Yeah. So I could see what's underneath.
Go ahead and grab the rectangle now and put it on top and see if now it shows up. It's still underneath, which is bizarre because if you go in your layers, it should be on top. It's so strange. What is happening to that rectangle? I think something's wrong with that piece. I don't know what it is.
Shall I just delete it and make
just
a new
delete
one?
it and make a new one? And I think that was the root of our problem seems to be that, not anything else, because let's see if we put that there. Now try to make another rectangle on top of that. And now let's try selecting, but it would seem like you should be able to select both. No, it's still not letting you. Never mind, just click shift click, which sometimes I don't know. Sometimes I can figure it out. This time I don't know why it's not letting you.
And I want to cut these.
Yeah, minus, yeah.
Daily news. Thank you.
Cool. Uh-oh.
Okay.
That's my son calling from school and it's time for break anyway. So I need to see if something's wrong at school. So how about we do a 15-minute break? It's 11:06. I'll see you guys at 11:21.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
You're welcome. See you guys. Ah, shoot.
Hello.
Hey, sweetie, what's up?
And
All right, I'm back. Hopefully you're all here. Not sure, but here we go. I need to reset my window here for a second. My history. I got my display a bit messed up. All right. So yeah, sorry about that. That was a long interruption there. My son is in the wrestling team. He's at the high school, and he has the first competition tomorrow, and he's in the varsity team. And he just got a message that at his job, one of the kids that he hung out with at a meeting on Wednesday tested positive. So we're like, oh, what do we do?
Oh no.
Yeah, I'm like, darn, it's the first time there's actually a connection with someone who he was sitting at a meeting. It was 15 kids in a meeting in a small office for an hour on Wednesday. I'm like, oh, that's about as exposed as you can get when you're all in the same small room.
Especially wrestling.
No, he works at the Santa Barbara Museum of Natural History, and it was a meeting there 2 days ago. But tomorrow he has his first varsity of the season. I call it a game, wrestling is not a game, tournament of the season. And so anyway, he was like, I put on a mask, what should I do? Should I go get tested? I'm like, well, 2 days, you won't, like, at this point, you won't be positive. So I said, just talk with your coach and see what they think. Because before, if you had an exposure, you had to go home and wait. But now they're saying if there's an exposure, you just nothing, wear a mask. But he can't wrestle with a mask. I don't know. I said, let's just ask your coach. So he went to the nursing station to get tested and got, of course, at this point negative, but it means nothing 2 days in. So hopefully we don't have a COVID Thanksgiving for everyone.
Yeah.
So if so be it. But this throat is not from this. I've had this throat from before, so it's not COVID. But who knows? Anyway, so now that I've shared my whole life story as to why I had to hang up, it's like my son does not call from school. If my son calls from school, no matter where I'm at, I'm like, something's wrong. I'm gonna pick up, right? But it was time for break anyway. So did everyone get their little cars and their windows and all of that handled? All right. So again, remember, it's not about this little card design. I know Saul went and made it that same day in 2 seconds, and he posted it that same day, the first day I posted it. But I'm trying to teach you tools, right, as to how to get all these shapes done. My goal would be that you do as Saul does, and then go make your own thing with these little compound shapes and squares and rectangles and path builders and all of that, right? So go and make your own little something and show me what you've made, even if it's a tiny little smiley sun. I don't care what it is. It doesn't need to be complicated. Meanwhile, I'll keep showing you the tools. So now next we have to make this donut. Well, there's some shades left and some backgrounds and these little purple things and stuff like that. But now the donut, if we analyze it, is a circle with a knocked out center, right? So about as compound shape as you can imagine. So that in itself is not the issue. It's this frosting and this shape. There's nothing that we've learned yet that would allow us to get this kind of shape. Okay, the little curvy bottom of the frosting. So we're going to work with shapes and curves and creating things from scratch versus from these stiff shapes, so to say. So let's go ahead and create a new file new. Now this time I said before, whatever you have as your base, say file new, but notice that my base always gives me 3 artboards because that's the one I created before. So it gives me an 11.5 by 3. So if you don't have that, go ahead and give yourself 3 or 4, just so it starts off already ready to go with 3 or 4 artboards. And then it's easier than having to create them on the fly. And then let's say create. And here I have my 4 artboards this time. I like to have different artboards where we learn some skills in one and then we practice in the other, and then we have the samples, you know, to have some space to move around to start with. Okay. So I ended up doing all that during break and I never got myself a lozenge. I look around as if a lozenge is going to miraculously appear, but I do know where they are. So give me one tiny second. I'll go grab one. Okay. All right. So now you hear slurping noises. I'm sorry, but at least I will stop hopefully coughing. So there's I did show you I didn't show you yet any tools to create anything outside of the rigid ones. Some of you in my digital design technique class, I showed you a tool. I showed you the pencil. A couple different ways to create shape. There's like 5 or 6 different ways to create shapes outside of those. These are called native primitive shapes is what these are called, outside of the primitive shapes. Now, the 2 most traditional ones to use are the pen tool or the curvature tool. And they have different strengths and powers. Before I, sorry, it's hard to talk with a thing on a mouse. But before we do that, there's one more tool I need to show you, which is the one that Leticia got in trouble with a bit earlier, when instead of using the black arrow tool, she used the white arrow tool. So let me show you first what's up with this white arrow tool. Let's go make a basic rectangle like we've been making, boring and typical. And then let's make an ellipse. Now I'm going to zoom into that. Okay. Now the reason we're starting with, I just told you I'm going to teach you how to make shapes out of scratch. But first, I want to show you, because when you make a shape, after, even if you make it out of scratch with the other tools I'm going to show you, you still need to know how to manipulate those shapes. And right now, the only way of manipulating the shapes that we have is the black arrow tool, which allows us to manipulate the bounding box, which, as I said before, in the circle, you can see that the bounding box is a rectangle. And the rectangle, it's harder to see because it overlaps the shape that's a rectangle. But really what we're doing is we're grabbing the bounding box with the black arrow tool. And all you can do is make it bigger, smaller, skinnier, wider, or swivel it around, which is harder to notice a swivel when you have a circle. So those are the things that we can do with the black arrow tool. Now, let me show you one more thing that's just kind of quirky that you can do with the black arrow tool when you have a circle, not a rectangle, but a circle. You see this little kind of antenna that pops out here? It's a weird tool, but when you click on that and then drag, you get a little Pac-Man. Remember? So it's if you grab this, you can make a full shape or a partial shape. So could we have used this to make our little car windows maybe? Right? So I told you there's many ways of doing these things. So this could have been a car window. But again, showing you many different ways of doing things. This is when you pop it back in, you get either just a sliver or the whole thing. I'm going to just go back to the whole thing. So you just know that's there. So for some shapes, it's a great beginning to already start with that. Okay, so that's all with the black arrow tool. The other thing you can do when you have, just as a reminder, when you have a square cornered shape, is these little wedgy thingies that let you bring in the corners of it. Okay, so that's it. That's a lot, but that's all you can do with the black arrow tool. Let's move over to the white arrow tool. Just to make things easier, click away, meaning unclick or deselect everything first. Go into this white and have nothing selected. And now select the white arrow tool. Now the white arrow tool gives me control, not of the entire object, but of each anchor points and paths. So instead of the whole object, which is what the basket, the holder was for the black arrow tool, now I can individually alter each path, which is the sides, or each point, each anchor. So the anchor are the corners, the paths are the sides. So now if I select this same shape, it's hard to tell on the rectangle that it's different because you don't see the bounding box. But look, if I select the round shape, see how I don't see a bounding box anymore? And the white arrow tool does not give you a bounding box. What it does is it gives you the actual access to the elements that create this shape. I'm going to start with a rectangle. I can now grab this path and I have to, this is an important thing. When I first start to do it, it's like, what's happening? It's all the same. It's all moving. Nothing's changing because you first select and then you select again. So the first selection is a select to the shape. The second selection is what it is that you're trying to select. So watch. I'm going to go and select this little anchor point. Boom. Now that I selected this anchor point, see how it stayed blue and the rest came white? Now I can just grab that again, click and drag and move this one anchor point. Once I've done that, I've disconnected the whole thing from the selection. Now I just need to kind of click and drag to any other points and move it. So it's the first time that you need to do that, like select and then select again and then move it. After that, it's like you've unlocked them and you can do whatever you want with them. You can grab the path and move the path, which moves 2 anchor points, or you can just move an anchor point at a time. Okay. So now we're completely distorting the object. This is not anymore a fat, tall, or wide rectangle. This is a not rectangle at this point. That's what the white selection tool does. If I do that to this one down here, again, when I first select it, everything wants to move at the same time. You have to click one more time. And look what happens when you click on an anchor point that's a circle. You get these little weird antennas. Those are the handles. So first of all, this is the anchor point, and it helps me move around just like I did before. I can move the anchor point and I can move the paths just like I did over there. But look at those little antennae thingies that are hanging out of my anchor points. What do they do? So here I only could move the anchor points right there or the paths. That's it. With light was straight line elements. But with curves, I can make the anchor point. Oh, I had to one more click. Sorry. The anchor point, the path, and I have these handles. And what these handles do is I can also go to them and use them to manipulate in 2 ways, up and down like a seesaw, up and down like a seesaw, or in and out, in and out. How further away from the anchor, the sharper the corner, the nearer, the straighter the line, until look, if I go all the way in and I drop it, boom, I've created an actual straight line. So move the anchor point, move the path itself, or manipulate those handles into getting the shape to do whatever you want. Okay. So all of this is because I'm using the white arrow tool. Okay. But keep going. We can also like twist it upon itself and do some other weird stuff. Okay. Now, If I were to now grab this and go back to the black arrow tool, now I have this shape that can be made fatter, thinner, taller, whiter, or twisted. But that's my shape now. Does that make sense? So black arrow tool manipulates the entire object, keeps it basically looking the same, only fatter, taller, whiter, or tilted. But the white arrow tool allows me to completely, oh, my mouse stopped working. That's something else. Hello, mouse. Are you out of battery? Okay, let me use something else, which is this one. This is my pen tool. I was using my mouse, but let me plug in my mouse and let it charge while I over to my pen tool. So anyway, so those are the two main things that we can do. So basically this manipulates the entire shape, and this manipulates if you want the content. For those of you who took my InDesign digital design techniques class, you know the distinction between the form and the content. So that was the frame and this was the content. So in a way, this is the same, and that I can truly make changes this way. Now, any questions before I move on to add on to this? Okay. Sorry, lozenge is almost done. I will stop making slurping noises very soon. All right. So let's take this top one. What if I want more anchor points? This is fine. I can manipulate these all I want. But what if I actually want to put more in there? Well, let's go to the pen tool. Right there, the one right underneath, it's the pen tool. I can go to any place in my path of a selected path. Okay, so make sure that your path is selected. And then with the pen tool, I can go ahead and drop 1 or 2 or 3 new anchor points. See, that one I didn't put in the right place, so that one doesn't work. It needs to be right on the path. The little plus sign has to be on. If you see my anchor point, let me see a plus sign. Right now I have like an asterisk, and when I hover over an existing path, see how it turned into a plus right there, and now there's an asterisk, there's a plus, if you know what I'm talking about, the tip of my tool. When it's a plus sign, I'm adding anchor points. If it's an asterisk, I'm making my own shape, and that's a whole different creature. So if you do that, hit the escape key, undo, and for now, let's not make new shapes. Right now, we're just adding points. So now that I've added all those points, I can go back to my white arrow tool. And now I'm going to back up a little bit. And now I can grab those new anchor points that I made, select and click again. And then I can actually really keep working. Okay. Now I have a much more complex shape because I've added some more paths. All right. Now, this is one way. There's so many ways to add paths. There's so many tools, but this is the main way to manipulate. If you have something that's just straight lines, this is a really good combo, right? Use the pen tool to add paths. Use the white tool to go in and manipulate them. Any question there? Is that working? Okay.
How do you get rid of the asterisks again?
It's not that you get rid of the asterisk, it's just that when the asterisk is, when you see the asterisk, you're about to start a new shape.
Oh,
In order to get it to add a path, you have to be touching a path, then it turns into a plus sign.
okay.
Plus sign, and then manipulate. Now, if you don't want to go all the way to get it, what's the shortcut for this? It's the A. As much as the shortcut for the black one was the V, the A, the opposite, the flip V, that's the quick access to the white arrow tool. So if I'm here in that tool and I hit the A, it switches to the white arrow tool, in which case once I click and click again, click twice, then you manipulate. Okay. Any questions about the A or white arrow tool? It's also called the direct selection tool. This is a selection tool, and this is the direct selection tool. So the selection tool is a black one, direct selection tool is the white one. Okay, so if that's working, by the way, that's not to say that you can't do that with your, you can add with a pen tool to also to oh, see what happened there? I'm sorry, I hadn't selected this shape. So even though I clicked on the path, it doesn't matter. It's giving me a new shape. So I'm going to hit escape. Before we continue adding paths, let me show you what the pen tool on its own does. So now move over here, some blank space with the pen tool, which when you're in a blank space, it has this asterisk shapes. And when you click one time, it drops a little anchor point. And then you have like what I call a spider web that comes with you. It takes you, and it's the direction your path is going to take. So when I click there again, and 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 there again. And when I'm finally done, I have to go to the first one and close it. Then I don't have any more of that spider web. So I have just created something similar to that just by making it with my pen tool. Okay. Now, since I have chosen a fill over here, when I have a shape that's fillable enough, it begins to fill. But the problem is that the shape is still not finished, because even though the fill is forcefully going as close as it can from here to here, both of them still about to do that and that and that. See how it's weird to do a shape with a fill that's already there? It's really confusing. And it doesn't really stop until you touch. And see how now I see a circle under the pen tool? When I see a circle, as I've touched the beginning, I've gone full circle. I'm closing it. When I do that, I'm finally free of that. So I prefer to make my shapes with no fill so that I can, when I'm making it, I can actually make the shape without having all that weird stuff, not knowing where to go. Once it's done, then I can go in and give it a fill. Right. And so it's easier to know versus to have that fill that's kind of filling in a weird way. Does that make sense, you guys? So this one has no fill. So if I try to move it from the middle, can't grab it. You have to grab it from the path. This one that has the fill, I can grab from wherever I want. But this one is empty. So remember, the path is where you need to select it from. See how it's empty, that it's actually transparent. It's not filled with white. Okay. So any questions about any of these things that we've just been doing? Straight lines and paths and adding paths. Now grab, this is what I meant by if I want to add a path to this shape, but this one is selected and I grab my pen tool. If I try to add a path to it, see how I don't get a plus sign? I just get the asterisk, meaning even if I click in here, what I'm doing is I'm starting a new shape. Does that make sense? That's why in order to add a path, anything I do to this, it's not going to work. It's going to constantly say no, new shape. You need to first select the shape. Once it's selected, then you can add a new path to it. Then this becomes actually new paths on an existing shape. Okay. Now I can use my arrow tool to grab, my white arrow tool to grab these new paths that I made on this existing shape. We all good? No questions? For straight lines, the pen tool is really easy, which is why for years, I've had to teach people how to do curves on the pen tool, and that is not really easy. And that's when people were like, oh, I can't use Illustrator, it's kind of hard. And I guess a lot of people felt the same way. So Illustrator created a new tool instead of the pen tool to make curves, which is possible. And we did it for 20 years, but it was never easy. They've created a new tool to create curves, which is the curvature tool, which is the pen tool right there that has a little like bit of curvy string coming out of it. That's the curvature tool. Now, for better or for worse, it's easy to make curves. I'm going to go ahead and make this one smaller so I can have some space here to create curves, but it operates a bit differently. Anyway, both of these tools look like the same. They look the same shape, only one does straight lines, one does curves. Both do curves, both do straight lines. That's the point I'm trying to say. But they operate completely differently to make curves and to make straight lines. So sometimes to learn, it's easier to learn only one, or to learn pen tool for straight lines, curvature tool for curves, and then that kind of clarifies your brain. So this time, like last time I taught this, I only taught the curvature tool. Before I only taught the pen tool. Now I'm going to teach you both, and let's see, you tell me, because for some people, it's like intuitive. Oh, this is really great and easy. And for other people, it's like, nah, I'm just going to use this tool. It's easier for me. So you choose. So the curvature tool, I'm going to click here, first dot, instead of when I click my second one. At first, it seems like it's a straight line, but when I move my mouse, see that curve that's turning, that's being shaped? When I click the third time, the path is going to cleave to that curve. And there, and there, and there, and there, and there, and there. It kind of works the same as the black, this exactly the way this one worked for straight lines is the curve. You just kind of click and click and click and click and click. And as you're done, when you're done and you join them, you have your final shape. Again, because of this weird pre-filled shape, it's harder to know where to go. So once again, I prefer to have no fill when I'm making my shape so that I can kind of keep an eye on the actual shape that I'm making, which is that line, and not have to worry about it being filled in such a weird way that it doesn't let me see my shape. And when I'm done and I click, there's my shape, and now I fill it. So is that working for you?
Yes.
You know what? Actually, both work great, but
Yeah.
I think this one works better for the curves, because the other one, when you're trying to do a curve, you have to be really meticulous to be
Yeah.
able to make it perfectly. And this one is so easier than make a round.
Yeah.
Which is
So
great.
if you're going to choose only one of the two, clearly the curvature tool is much easier to use. I'll show you now how to make straight lines with both of them. But making straight lines with the curvature tool is not hard, versus making curves with a pen tool is kind of hard, like Saul is saying. It's, again, once you learn it, it's like driving. It's not easy to drive. Once you drive, you don't think about it anymore. You just drive listening to music. But at first you're like, oh, paying attention. So the pen tool is like that. It's hard to make curves. So now that they've made this curvature tool, why not just always make curves with a curvature tool, which is much easier to use. And so I'm not going to bother teaching you how to make curves with the pen tool, but I am going to teach you, well, what if I wanted to use the curvature tool for everything? How do I make straight lines with a curvature tool? Right? So I'm going to move over to another board, and here's how you make lines with a curvature tool. Instead of single clicking, you double click, 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 double click. Now this one you're not seeing, right? Because I'm doing it with my hand, but I'm just double clicking, ta 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 ta. And then the curvature tool makes my lines be straight. So you have to, in the same spot, do a little quick little, oh, I left the fill on, which is what I don't like. So I'm gonna take the fill off. Double click, double click, double click, double click, double click, double click. Oh, I just joined it there. The last one is a single click, not a double. Did that work for you guys? Double click your way to straight lines with a curvature tool. See, it's actually simple to make straight lines with a curvature tool. It's just a double click. Yeah. Oh, you were using that one all this time. So you were wondering what's happening. Christina's like, oh, I had used that one. Yeah, you're wondering how come you're getting straight lines and you're not getting straight lines. Yeah, there we go. Now you know why. They are two identical looking tools, but they operate 100% differently. So what if I want a hybrid shape? With the curvature tool, you can do that. I can start making a curve symbol click. And then here I want a straight line. So I double click, double click, double click, double click, and then single click, single click, single click. The moment I single click, I get curves, double click. The next line is going to be a straight line, not right. So you have to double click and then click to join. So now I have a hybrid of straight and curved tools because I either single clicked or double clicked. Okay. That said, we're not trying to make a specific shape, and it's fun to make these bizarre shapes, but how do you control those shapes to actually look like what you want them to look? Well, there's a way to control them, manipulate them when you're laying them down, but plan B, remember the easiest way to manipulate any shape is still to go to the white arrow tool and then grab the anchors and say, I was hoping, and click one more time, I wanted this to be a bit fatter and this to be a bit sharper and that to actually have a little bump. And this needs to be in. So many times, even though we create the shape with the curvature tool over the pen tool, many times we manipulate the shape later on with the white arrow tool. Does that make sense? Now, that's not necessarily so. With the pen tool, it's really hard to manipulate a shape, but with a curvature tool, you can still manipulate it. So watch. I'm going to select the shape. Remember, the shape always has to be selected. I'm going to go back to my curvature tool. And now I want to manipulate the shape of my curvature tool. And you know what? I can, curvature tool, okay? The moment I go over a path, an existing anchor, it turns into an arrow and it lets me move it. So even though I'm in my curvature tool, if I were to click next to it, I would make it a new path. But if I click on it itself, I can move that. So with a curvature tool, I can do all in one. I can move the anchor, drop a new one, move that one, drop a new one, move that one. So when the path is finished like this, and I use the curvature tool, I can not only move my shapes, but I can also drop a new one. One thing that doesn't show up though, can you tell? I don't have the handles. So as much as I can move this up and down, what I don't have with the curvature tool is the handles that allow me to make this a sharper or a less sharp curve. So that's the limitation. If I can't do that, I can only move it to change my shape. But what if this curve is supposed to be a steeper curve? Then I still have to go back to the white arrow tool, turn on the handles, and then use this to make it a steeper curve. Does that make sense? So it's a combination of all the different tools that I've been showing you, and some do this better. So to change a curve to be steeper, see, I'm not moving the path that make the curve, but I'm making it steeper or flatter. So to say I'm more concave, less convex, that kind of thing. Then I still need those little wonderful handles. And the only time you get those wonderful handles is with the white arrow tool. Does that make sense, you guys? The white arrow tool also lets me move these around, but it doesn't let me add a path. To add a path, an anchor point, I need to have either of the two pen tools. So with the curvature tool, you add it and you move it. So it's like 2 in 1. Now, if I want to get rid of one of these paths, with the curvature tool, I select the path I don't want, and then I hit my delete key or backspace on the keyboard for PCs. Okay, select it and delete it, select it and delete it. So if I select and delete something like this, it'll be very little change. It's like but if I select and delete that point, then this whole thing will change, right? Because I'm deleting. That one won't change much, but deleting this one will change a lot. Now, if I'm on my white arrow tool, I can do the same. I can select a path that I don't want anymore, an anchor, and delete. But everything around it goes away. Okay, so watch. I select this anchor point with the white arrow tool now, okay? And the white arrow tool doesn't really just grab this path because of its handles. It's grabbing this path and this path, because that's what I'm affecting, the two paths connected to it. So if I were to delete this anchor point now that I have the white arrow tool, the two paths that connect it disappear as well, right? So rarely do we want that, because shapes that aren't closed are hard to handle, and Illustrator really likes closed shapes. Imagine if I fill this now, this you can't manipulate, you can't tell it to be in or out. It just is a straight line from beginning to end point. So basically, you probably don't want, I'm going to undo, instead of getting rid of that, you want to have curvature tool or the pen tool. If I were to use the pen tool and I want to get rid of an anchor point, again, I hover over an existing anchor point with the pen tool now, click on it, and it disappears. A path that has no paths, the pen tool gives me a new anchor, a new path, boom, a new anchor point, boom, a new anchor point. But if I hover over an existing one, it automatically turns into a minus and it deletes. So as you can see, they all kind of overlap what they do. They just do it a little bit differently. My recommendation is learn one of them well. And then when you see its limitations that you want to know how to do a bit more, then learn the other. So I would say learn the curvature tool. It's 90% awesome and easy, but it has some limitations because those handles are really comfy to know how to handle. When you need to go to the white arrow tool and use the white arrow tool to pick up those handles. And then you have more control of the path, so you can get the exact shape that you want. So that's the best combination. Curvature tool, double click for straight lines, and then most of the manipulation can be done with the curvature tool. When you're near enough, then you switch to the white arrow tool, and then you really hone it down to the exact shape that you're trying to get. Okay, that's kind of the best combination. Now everyone has their own way of drawing or not, and they might have their own solution, but so you do a lot of drawing. Let me remind you guys what I showed you at the beginning of the session. Saul wasn't here, but remember that I showed you all these different things. These are things that Saul has created from scratch. He's drawn all this stuff, right? So what is your favorite? Is it the curvature tool or the pen tool, or do you combine?
I think I combine both, especially the one right there on the Qatar.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. I heard you say you combine, and then what?
I did combine both of them, especially on the sign that I make, the Qatar logo.
Yeah, the one that it's not here, but he made a logo that worked with. Okay. So
yeah, both work great to me. I combine both of them.
You combine them, yeah. So that's exactly there's no tool that does it all yet. The pen tool was, I don't even going to show you how to do curves on that because it was really hard, and what's the point? So the curvature tool is many steps ahead, but then you're missing a few of the nuances that you can do with the curvature tool, with the pen tool. So now you have to combine. But listen, what if you have a curve and you actually wanted this to be a straight line? How do you change that? Because you can make it straight-ish as a curve, but you can't make it completely straight. So again, with the curvature tool, if you're in the middle of a curve and you would like it to be a straight line, you select it and then you double click it. And see how it turned into straight? Now these two are straight, but that is still not straight and that is still not straight. So if you really wanted this to be a straight angle, then you have to double click that one and double click that one. And there you got your straight. Does that make sense? Now, if you go, oh, that was horrible. I really didn't want this to be a straight peak. I want it to be a curve. Double click it and it turns into a curve. So the curvature tool, double clicking switches back and forth from straight to curve, from straight to curve. And this is all the curvature tool. So it does 90% of what you need. It's just when you want to change the angle of this curve with the curvature tool that you have no way to change the angle of that curve. You're stuck. You can only move the paths. That's when you go to the white arrow tool, click on this, and then begin to manipulate these little, manipulate the handles to change the shape of that curve. Does that make sense? There's some path tools and stuff that I usually have people practice with, but today I have some exercises I'll show you later that I'll let you do as homework instead of having me do them with you. I don't know, maybe I'll have you do some of them later, but I'm kind of torn by the fact that we have this space in between, and then for Veterans Day, and now again the space for Thanksgiving. I don't want you guys to lose your skills, so I might I'll decide if I have to do it at school or as homework. But now what I want us to do is create. Now you're beginning to have an idea of how to create this icing, right? Maybe because now we know how to do these kind of shapes. Now, the sprinkles are colored lines that are curves. I'll show you how to do that later. They're not full shapes. They're just curved lines. But this, right? What we can do is make a circle. We can even take the same circle we made already for the tires, get rid of the 2 rectangles in the middle, make a copy, stretch it out, end up with a bigger circle. That's our main donut. And then we need to make a shape that's a curve, and then we can join it to the top half of the donut, right? So let's try out what I'm talking about. Let's go ahead and practice it here. Let's make, instead of having to make the compound shape just because of time, let's go back and select one of these that we already had. If you made a successful one of these tires over here, just copy that, Control or Command C, or right click copy, head over here to this new thing and paste. So we're bringing basically one of the tires, or take it from here, doesn't matter, just bring one of the tires that you've already made. Since we all have successful tires, we'll start with that. Now, a couple of you guys, when you shared your screens, you still had your layers up here. I believe you, Monica, and maybe you, Leticia. So you had to go from properties to layers like that. And I find that completely insensible. It just doesn't make sense because I need to be able to change these two at the same time. So I recommend grabbing the layers for both of you guys and knocking it in there, dropping it when you have that little blue color there, and then you can have both properties and layers available at the same time, because I do believe we're going to need to go back and forth quite a bit. I need if you're going to choose one, then have your layers always available and put your properties in them, whichever, but I think this is the best way. So hopefully everyone has their existing tire copied onto this. We're going to open this up, and in here I see the 2 portions that are my rectangles, these 2. So I'm going to select, hold down the shift and select. Now, why am I doing it here in the layers? Because when a shape is a compound shape like this, it's harder to access those 2 pieces. Like it's all one thing. So I haven't yet taught you how to go in there and do isolation mode. I will in a minute. But right now, the easiest solution to select just the 2 rectangles of a grouped shape is to go to the layers. There's other solutions, but right now it's the easiest one is to go to the layers. Select this one is the white rectangle, hold down the shift key, select this one, right? So then you look there and yeah, only the rectangles are selected, and then hit your delete or backspace, boom, they're gone. We're left with just the donut part. Does that make sense? This whole thing operates as one piece, but there's still the individual pieces are available here. And the layers allow us access to that compound shape. Now, the shape that we want is going to be kind of much fatter because it's a donut, and then it's going to have an extra thing for the shade and all that. So basically right now, I'm going to change the proportion of the size of the inner to the outer. So again, it's nice to be able to have here access to the inner and outer part of this compound shape. So I'm going to click on the one that selects the inner. I'm going to hold the corner here. I'm going to hold shift, and I'm going to hold option to make it be, although a donut doesn't need to be precise. Like if it's a donut, it could probably be a little bit less perfect. But I'm going to move it in to be about, I don't know, yay fat. Is that about the proportion of a donut? Maybe I'm thinking bagel. Maybe it's a bit bigger. Anyway. So we're not going to worry right now about the the shade. But I do want to say one thing. The rest of these were very straight lines, and everything has been very geometric. This circle, even though it's a donut, it is also very geometric. The reason we see it as a little bit less geometric is because notice that the shade has been offset a little bit. And then because of these curves, it's all looking a little bit, you know, more fluid. But in reality, it still is a perfect circle. So it's fine to use these geometric shapes to make it. But the pink layer is a bit fatter because it's icing, right? And fatter on the outside and on the inside, it overlaps. So it's not the same circle. So we're going to have to do two different shapes here. I'm going to head over here. Let's go ahead and start by making it brownish. Let's just invent a brown. Head over here to my, where I make colors, and choose some kind of a dark orange, and then go over down here, and I've got a brown for my donut. Is it a chocolate donut? I don't know why it's so dark brown, but anyway. Make it a little bit redder. And there you go. So I've made it brownish. I'll make it a bit lighter so it looks a bit more attractive in color, more edible. There, I'll let it a bit lighter. Now, remember, if I want to keep this as a color and not have it disappear, if I make my mistake right now and suddenly click on another color and it disappears, I'd have to figure it out again. I should double click here on my fill, not double click, sorry, simple click, and then create a plus sign so that I get this and say, okay, and I'm not even about naming it, but there's my donut color, okay? Now, I forgot that I hadn't yet explained to you about colors, but that's gonna come the next time we meet, global color or not. I'll explain that later, why I have a little white triangle, but for now, just go with whatever color it gets. So this is my base donut. Now, I'm gonna create another donut, but I don't know if you guys noticed with the car, but when you make a shape, watch this, just watch. First, I need to explain to you, and then you'll know what I'm talking about. I'm going to make a duplicate. So I'm going to hold down the Option key and make a duplicate. And just so we know it's a duplicate, I'm going to go ahead and make it, I don't know, pinkish. Ugh, that's not the pink of the icing, is it? If so, it's pretty hard to imagine eating it. I'm going to make it a little bit brighter. Pepto-Bismol pink. There we go. So now I've saved that color just so I have it. So these are exactly the same, right? Exactly the same. Did you notice when we did the car, I'm going to make it a little bit lighter in opacity so you can see, that when we actually make this bigger, I'm going to hold down the shift to make it be exactly proportional and centered. When I want to make it bigger, a circle is a circle. It doesn't matter. It just gets bigger. But did you guys notice in the car, when I selected this car, where's one that's not here? When I selected this car, let me just get rid of these because when I selected this car and made a duplicate, let me give it the darker color. I didn't show it to you at that moment, but when we made this proportionally smaller in a complicated shape like this, see how it didn't just get smaller in a way that would fit? Did you notice that when you were doing it? Like it didn't get smaller like that, like it would fit inside. It got smaller identically, so we kind of made it work for the windows, but it wouldn't have fit inside of the car. You see what I'm trying to say? It didn't make like a skinnier car. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Because in a circle still turns into a smaller circle or a bigger circle, so it doesn't matter. But in a shape that's more complex, making things smaller doesn't give you a small version of that. Like it gives you a small version. Okay, it gives you a small version of that car. It doesn't give you a shape that fits inside of the shape of the other car. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So if you have a shape that's more complex, it's not a circle, instead of doing this, what you need to do, I'm going to make a duplicate of it again. Give it the dark color. And this shape, we would have to go offset path. So here, I'm going to put it on top of it so you see it. I'm going to say offset path right there, right? And then right now it's offsetting it bigger. If I give it a minus, let me give it a minus 0.1. I'm going to say, okay. I don't know, this one became orange. Hold on, my orange one changed color too. This is confusing. So this is an offset version of it. See what I mean? It became smaller in all the senses to the point that it disappeared in here. Does that make sense? What I'm showing you?
Yes.
Here, I'm gonna make my 0.05. Say okay. See if that worked better. No, that's even smaller. I don't know right now how much smaller that would make it. That's even tinier. I have to make it minus point. I don't even know how many points to make it. 0, 0. I can't seem to figure out how much smaller to make it. Give it a different color. Offset path. That's too small. 0, only 0.5. There, that's better. I've made so many trying out the shapes, but do you see what I'm trying to point out to you? This actually makes the shape smaller, but within the same shape. Okay, so when we go, I'll let you play around with this a little bit. It's easier if you have like triangles or other shapes like that, where a smaller version of a car wouldn't have worked if I was trying to make an outline like this, or if everything had to be shaped. But this offset path made me a smaller version. It basically, it's like you got a piece of scissors from this one and you just cut out the whole edge of it and you end up with this. Does that make sense? To make a small version of this one.
Margin.
It's like an inside, yeah, something like that. So that's what we call an offset path. So now for the donut, if all we do is make it smaller, it's going to work. But I wanted you guys to, or bigger, right? Because this has to be actually bigger in this case. So just for you guys to practice, I mean, you could make it just bigger, right? But then centering it and all of that would be a little bit weird. Or, sorry, or what we're going to do instead is let's do this little offset path here. But let's start by having it be on the plus side, because this time the pink has to be a little bit bigger. And let's see if 0.1, let's see how much bigger it makes it. Oh, did I end up with the green? Do I have a green? No stroke, thank you. Oh, hold on. I ended up doing it to the whole thing and I was supposed to do it only to the outside. I apologize. Go ahead. If you did this with me, let's get rid of it. I forgot that it was a compound path. So this is my base donut. I have to make a copy of this. I will just not make a copy, but what I can do, watch, just with this one there, not the copy of it, but here I'm going to do an offset path. The offset path is going to give me a copy. And that's why I'm getting these weird colors. Let me say okay to that. No. Let me change. So in my group here, there's my brown one. And these two here are my new ones, the ones that I just got made. But they have this weird, you know what? No, because I'm going to have to recompound these two. Sorry, I'm thinking it through. I'm gonna have to recompound them, so it's probably not a good idea. I'm thinking it through, by the way, which is probably not the way to have done this in front of you guys. It's gonna work, but I'm gonna have to create the compound path again, which is not ideal. So forget what I just said. It's gonna, I mean, I can do it this way, but it's gonna be more complicated to show you what I'm trying to make, because now the blue got bigger and it should have been smaller. I can do it. Trying to think I can do it, but is it worth it? So basically, everything I just did to make it work, which it is working. It's just that it's on top and now I have to cut off the bottom half. It's going to be too complicated doing it see what I just did, and then I just cut off the bottom. But the way I did it, compound path inside of a compound path, is probably going to be way too complicated for you guys. So let me just get rid of that and let's start all over. I'm going to undo what I just did, and I'm going to just go back the way we had originally said it. Let's do it one by one. Let me undo all these steps. I did like 5 steps there. And go back to having I need to undo and go back to having just the brown donut. Now, if perchance I've messed it up and you guys don't have this anymore, I'm having to go back so many steps. If you don't have just a basic circle anymore, then let's go back, and since you still have it, the last thing you copied was that black thing. If you do paste again, that thing will show up again. And that's easier to start. If you messed it up, it's easier to start that way and just get rid again of the 2 triangles, and then we start all over. If not, if you're down to just the one donut, then just copy that. And so whichever way you do it, I'm going to just copy this one twice now, copy and paste, and just put it there. Just occurred to me that what I was trying to show you wasn't going to work because I have to show you something that I didn't teach you, and I don't want to teach you more things that I didn't teach you right now, because we'll be done in 20 minutes. So just give me 2 of the same thing, paint 1 pink. If I lost you, I'll help you get here. I'm gonna paint it pink with a bright pink first. And then I'm gonna go in here and modify my bright pink by double clicking on the color picker and make it a little bit more palatable. And then save that color. So tell me when you have 2 exact shapes, 1 and 2, hopefully donut colored, brown and pink, but you guys might like your colors in a different color, your donuts in a different color. How's it going? Tell me when you have this. Give me yeses or greens. Okay, so we're just going to hand do this. So to say, we're just going to make it a little bit bigger first. So I'm going to put this on top and make it a bit bigger. Just a bit, because remember, icing is only a little bit bigger. So I'm going to just hold my Option key to pull out and my Shift key. And so now it's just a tad bigger. And if I bring down the opacity, you can see that it's just a tad bigger. Okay, I'm going to leave it here. Now I know it's a tad bigger, but also the circle inside has to be a tad smaller. Does that make sense? Because if I made that bigger, now the icing has to be bigger on the outside, but this inside circle, it has to be smaller on the inside. Does that make sense? So yeah. Now I have to grab that inner circle, and that's why it's good that we have these kind of things here, because I can go over here and grab only that inner circle. And again, proportionally hold the Shift key, the centered circle, hold the Option key, and now make it a tad smaller. So now if I were to put this over that, I should cover it completely. And if I were to want to test the whole thing to see if it's working, I can grab my brown one and put it on top. And now this is my goal. See how my pink is bigger than my donut? That's the goal. You want maybe I have to make my pink even a tad. Big one, tad smaller. There we go. So now I have the perfect
Diana?
amount of slightly bigger. This is the stuff that if we had done an offset, it would have done the offset bigger on its own, but we're hand making an offset. Okay, yes, Ed?
So not offline, but a little bit is, I thought we made the color palettes of the original image global. So shouldn't they
Yes.
shouldn't they be showing up when I'm looking at
Yeah,
the
good
other
point.
artwork?
No, I haven't yet taught you the difference between global or not. You know it from the past, you know something about it, but no, those are global, but they're within this design. Here, I started a new file, so they don't come over. I would have to import them, and I haven't taught this group yet how to import. You did the Illustrator before, you did digital design techniques where I taught a bit about importing colors, but this Illustrator group doesn't know yet. So
Okay.
in this group, those colors are not here yet. I will teach you about colors next time we meet. So for this group here, I'm just faking a brown and a pink just to know we're making a donut. When we come back in here, we can actually choose those colors that we did create down here. We chose the actual pink and the actual brown and stuff like that. But they stay, these colors that we created stayed in this, they don't share automatically into a new document. A great question, but thank you. So now the goal is to have a pink donut that's a bit bigger on the outside, a bit smaller on the inside than the brown one, because that's going to be our icing. And we're going to then create the shape of these curviness, and then we're going to create those with our curvature tools. We're going to create that shape, and then we're going to knock out that thing, and that'll give us our icing on top. Does that make sense? So if you have your shape, give me a yes. Let me look at the yeses. Looks like everyone's kind of saying yes. Leticia, how are you doing?
I got two shapes.
Ali, you got two shapes. Is
I
one
got two shapes, but
is one
how
a bit
do I
bigger than the other?
minimize the inner circle? I have it highlighted, but
Okay, so the inner circle, you go again to the
like
layers.
proportionately, because when I did the shift and then I dragged it, it kind of made it off center.
So proportionally, you can hold the shift to make it proportional and Option to keep it centered. So you select
Shift,
the inner circle.
Okay, shift alt and then
Shift.
Okay.
Shift makes it bigger or smaller, but it's not proportional, right? So
Okay.
Shift and Option keeps it bigger and smaller proportionally. Okay.
And then how do you bring the icing forward?
Well, now that is just layers. I just went and closed all of these, so you're left with only pink or blue, right? And then you grab one and put it on top, pink or brown or whatever, and then you just put it above or below the whole thing. Now be careful, because this is where it can get dicey. If I were to grab this and drop it on top inside the group like that and let go, then I've messed up, because my groups are all inside of groups. I've created another group. So, you know, undo that and be careful. You need to make sure that you have. Now, notice that my pink one down here and my brown one is over there. So right now I'm putting the brown one on top because it's the small one, just to make sure that my pink is ready to go. Later, pink will be on top. But right now, to make sure that I've got, you know, my pink barely bigger so that it's the right size, I put the brown on top. Okay. And then later when we're ready to make it, the brown will be underneath, because we're going to cut out the pink. Okay. So you need to have them.
All my donuts are showing a pink for some reason.
Go ahead and select the small one, whichever is your smallest one, and paint it brown. It does when you move layers around. Right now I move my layers around wrong, and see how my top one's also going pink. That just shifted. It's weird. I have to undo
Okay, yeah,
again.
now everything's brown. Okay.
Okay. So now, if everyone has their two, now we're going to try to make the curvature shapes to make it look a little bit like icing. And if you want to, you can come over here and look at what the draping would look like. You know, it's kind of like that. You can invent your own. You can, since this is locked, you could try to create a curvature tool right here. I would say take the fill off before you start, and then try and see if you put your plus, you know, start putting your curves around like this and see if you get something you like. And then when you're kind of in the area, then you can just close it like that, right? Because we don't need to recreate the whole donut. We just need to create the bottom. And then you look at it and you go, okay, that's good enough, right? Maybe give it a stroke. Mine didn't even have a stroke. Let me give it a green stroke, something that's not here in this color, so that I can actually see it. And then you can start modifying it with the curvature tool. So remember, it doesn't need to follow the whole path. It just needs to be enough that we can intersect it with our donut, right? So you kind of look at this and go, I would rather it be a little bit different. So first, with the curvature tool, move it until you kind of like what it is. If you're good at drawing, you can just draw it from scratch. Just do your own, just draw from scratch. Don't bother copying from this one, right? And some of you guys are great illustrators, so you wouldn't be copying, you'd make your own little drip. But for those of you who need the help, we have something here that we're sampling. Now here's the problem. Here's an example of this curve here works, but then here it's kind of not doing what I want. I'm going to put another ink there and I'm going to pull it in right there to see if I can get it to follow the shape of the donut, right? Maybe I need to put another path to pull this little tip out so that I can have it be like it's a little glob, right? So anyway, play around until you have a feeling that you're with, and all I'm doing is a curvature tool right now. If it's still not working with the curvature tool and you want something else, then plan B would be you add, you pull out the white arrow tool. So now I'm kind of happiest with that shape. I'll create another one here. I'm just going to be doing this here. If you need a hand, let me know.
Diane,
Yes.
why wouldn't you do the entire shape as a path?
Because the whole art piece, because of the way this art piece is made, it's very geometric. And there's no way that by hand you're going to get that. I mean, I'm going to say there's no way. You could try to create that perfect shape. But we already have a size of icing that's exactly right. Happy in the end, icing is kind of uneven anyway, depending on how the person applied it. So if what you want to do instead is to make it all by hand, please do that. I want to teach you how to use these curvature tools. I've already taught you how to use the shape builder. So if you want to just focus on the curvature tools, that's good enough for me. But if you would rather practice both, then do the tips, and then we're going to do the shape builder to join them. It both would work. Okay. All right. So you could keep going and make the perfect circle. It would be harder to get it to be so mechanically right. So to say, not mechanically, but so perfectly right. So now I've made these two with outlines. I'm going to go ahead and this time I'm going to fill this with the actual pink that I picked up from the donut. And I'm going to get rid of the stroke. Okay, and I'm going to do the same to this. I'm going to make it pink. Oh, and you weren't here, Leticia, when you picked the donut. It doesn't matter if it's perfect pink or if it's a similar pink. It doesn't matter. And now, look what I'm going to do. I'm going to take these two bits, copy them, and I'm going to take them over here and paste them over here. Now, clearly the proportion of that drawing is different than the proportion of this drawing, because see how much smaller they are? But that's okay. We can either make this smaller or that bigger. So I'm just going to choose to make this bigger for now to stay with this shape. Remember, it's all in Illustrator, go up or down. So I'm going to hold down my shift key and make these bigger. Right now, I'm going to try to make them match. So I'm basically trying to match the left one right now only, but I'm using both. I think it probably would have been better to have them already done here. Like those of you who maybe didn't, or make the whole thing like Ed said, or draw them directly onto these. But I'm going for this, where I'm making them kind of match on their own. And then when I join them, I can modify them to my heart's content. So I'm happy with that. I think it's still too big. Yeah, I think this is going to work, because when I take this off and join these to that, then I'll straighten this out. Does that make sense? Or I can straighten it out now. Snapping to the grid. All right. Depending on how you made them or not, they could be more or less globby. I'm thinking that this one needs a bit more help on the globbiness, but so now I'm going to select it, select this one, and then go over here to this tool, and I'm going to move these around a little bit more. Make it kind of look like it's pouring a little bit. Like that. And then when I have the shape later, I'll go and make it more precise. Okay, so I kind of have the endings. I'm going to save this, by the way, save on your computer. I haven't saved it yet. This is going to be just curvature, curves, and icing. Curves, curvature tool, and icing. So once again, if you want to zoom down and do a screenshot of this at this point before we're done with it, so that you have an idea of how we've ended up with these shapes. And now I'm going to copy this because I don't want to lose the one as a sample that we're working with. I'm going to make a copy right here so that we can see where I'm coming from. And I'm going to make a copy right here. This is just me because I want to keep the samples of what I'm working from in case I have to go back and forth to show you guys. And now I'm ready to apply, select all of this. And I'm going to apply this shape builder tool, shape builder tool. And I'm going to get rid, option key of this. Oh, I have a bad feeling that because it's not inside of the same compound shape. Yep, I'm going to have to uncompound the shape. This is not going to work with a compound shape. Nope, it's not. Yep, it's looking more and more like it would have been easier to just draw the whole thing, but the workaround is always there. I'm going to go ahead and uncompound this shape. I haven't shown you this yet. I'm torn. I'm torn. I'm thinking it through. I'm going to have to let go of this knockout piece. And that's going to be harder to do than to just recreate it. Sorry, this moved. Yeah, I think it's going to be harder. It's going to be easier to just create another circle that's not part of the compound piece. So to make it easier. So I can either use these two circles and release them from their compound shape, or create 2 new circles of this same shape. I don't want to get it too complicated to show you how to release it. What time is it? But anyway, if I'm going to show you that, I'm going to go over here to the donut. This is the one that I'm working with. See that? That's the donut piece. I'm going to turn these 2 off so it's less complicated. So this is the donut that's compounded. And inside of that, you have this little other layer. It's kind of like a layer inside of a layer. But inside of that, you have these 2 shapes, right? So what I'm going to do, the 2 shapes that are the donut. So I'm going to actually drag this out. I'm going to drag it out of its there so that I lose that initial circle. And then, yes. My computer telling me that class is almost over. I hear you. Relax. And then these 2 shapes as well, if I drag it out, now they go back to being those original 2 colored shapes that I had. Remember? You had that one and that one. No, that won't work. Ed, you continue to be right. It's going to be easier because when I uncompound the shape,
Can I have that in writing?
are you so often not right?
I live in a household of females. I'm never right.
Every time I say you're right to my husband, he like blows a horn, toots a whistle. It's like, yeah, I can't believe you said that. But so I know what you're talking about. Here, me trying to show you how to compound and like trying to show you the steps that we've done today. In this case, is more complicated than just finishing it up. Because when I uncompound the shape, of course, let me show you what's happening. When I took these out of the compound shade mode, then you can't, when I turn this one off, it's basically a shape. You can't like get rid of it. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to select these. I've uncompounded them. I'll give it a try to see if this works. And even if it works, it's still not the best way to have done it. But so I'm going to try to make it work. All of them uncompounded with this tool. I'm going to hit Option to get rid of this, Option to get rid of that, and then confirm to do this and this and this. So meaning it's doable, but I had to do the whole uncompound first. So it's almost like, was it worth it is my point. Now all of that, I can paint pink. So I can do it, as you can see, but was it the best way to do it versus having done it to start with? I'm not sure. And now I would have to fix those details. So let me show you again what I did. Undo, 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 undo. First of all, you need to take the shapes and get rid of the compoundness of them. So if you want to do it my way, I basically use this shape builder, but the part that had knocked it out, I need to undo. So how did I do that? I went to the group and took them out of that group, and I ended up back to the original colors. So let me undo a bunch more times until I get to that point so that I can show you again what I did. I'll do it one more time in case you guys want to then repeat it at home. Here we go. So this is still a compound shape. Okay. If you look over here, this is the one I'm working on. And it's a group inside of a group. And these are the 2 little circles that I'm trying to get to. So to get to them, I have to bring them out. Okay, so I'm going to grab this one here and drag it out. So I'm going to grab it like this. And I have to first to take the whole compound group out of itself. So basically I grab it from here and take it out by putting it there. So I've left that compound group. And then here, I'm grabbing this and pulling it out. And I get that one shape. And then I'm grabbing it from here and I'm pulling it out. So this is me reversing the compound shape of it. Okay. So I kind of pulled them out, the layers out. So then they became just 2 circles. See how all of the other stuff that was holding them disappeared. These are the other ones that are in the rest of my drawing, but they're not affecting me. Whatever is here is the other stuff. Now this is all that's left of that compound shape. Does that make sense? all I did was bring them out of like these layers. You take them out of here, they become back their original parts and pieces, which is what this was. And then I turned on these two pink pieces that I had added to them. And now I select all four. First of all, let's get rid of stroke on all of them. I select all four pieces, okay? So basically I have two circles and two icing blobs. And what I need to get rid of, the bottom of the donut that's not icing and the circle. So I select all four pieces, go to my shape builder, and I do that. I hold down the option key and get rid of the bottom of the donut. And then I get rid of the circle. Boom. But then I also want to join these. So I let go of my option and alt key. I'm in plus mode and I just join all of these and I unite them as one. But these little bits here need to be joined too. So I'm going to click and drag across there and across there and across there. And there you go. I have my one piece. So basically I had to uncompound it, and then I've managed to join all my little bits and pieces. Now I have to make it all one color. So let me make it all pink. And there it is. And I have a couple of leftover little bits and pieces here that I didn't join. It's okay. I can live without them. I have one or two little leftover pieces here. I'm going to adapt now by taking my white selection tool, and over here there's a little bit that's kind of a sharp little thing, so I'm going to drop it, and then here, see right there, I'm going to go ahead and use this and get rid of that curvature tool. I'm going to get rid of that, and this one here because I had one too many. No, not that. And then when I let go, there's some straightening still to do in there. I'm gonna move that one in a little bit. Oops. Make it a little bit curvier. Yeah. I ended up with like 2 or 3 little bits there. So I'll move around. So I'm smoothing out that icing a little bit. I'm going to back out. I'm going to turn on my chocolate donut. And I'm going to grab this thing and put it on top. And there's my little donut. Copy. Set it over here. And bring my donut here, which since it was much bigger, now I need to I think proportionally it's about right. A little bit bigger. I'm going to group this. And where's my trailer? My trailer was way down there. So I'm going to grab my donut and drag it way down under the trailer. And there you go. Okay. Let's turn these two blobs out. And there's my donut. Now, if you did it as one piece, like Ed said, show it to me. Ed, post it in the Padlet to show me how you did it as one blob. Now in here, I can go in and keep working with these little details and do that. But maybe it's just easier for you guys to just make a circle, make the icing. Have the circle, so the donut we made together, we bring it over that way, and then just make the icing, like he said, by drawing it on hand. I doubt that you'll get the perfect little symmetrical stuff here, but maybe. Now with this, we can then go in and make the slightly darker version for the shadows. We can do that based off of what we have. I'm gonna go ahead and change the color of the. Let me head over to my donut, which is way down here now. I'm going to open it up and I'm going to change the brown select the brown. Yes, 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 I hear you. And give it a different color. I'm going to bake this brown thing be the brown that we had over here for a chocolate donut. And I isolated it by going all the way into the layers. And now that's the same brown. All right, I'm going to save this. If I did lose you a little bit, I repeated it twice, this process. And so in the recording, you should see it twice. It basically, you need to pay attention to what I did in here, which is basically when something was already in a group layer in one of these, all I had to do is grab it and take it out of that group, okay, to uncompound it, and then out again, and then out again. Okay, so that's the third time I'm showing it to you. And then you act upon them as they were just circles and not compound pieces, all right? I'm gonna undo that because I'm gonna leave these here as compound pieces. There you go. And then you end up with your final bit. Practice it. You have 2 weeks because I won't see you until after Thanksgiving. So hopefully you'll have a great Thanksgiving and you will post these beautiful little donuts and trailers up in the shapes and do something else. Make a turkey. I don't know. Do something else to show me your work. Okay. I do have a class starting in a few minutes. So any questions, you guys? I'm happy to help if you have anything that was or wasn't working.
Just really quick, the icing, we manipulated it with the white selection tool, right?
I believe I used both. I think I used the curvature tool only. That was enough.
Okay.
I think at one point I flipped to the white for something, but most 99% of it was with the curvature tool that I created. I was able to move it around. Yeah, but if you need to flip the order of the curve, like here, if you couldn't by adding another flip, then do it with the white tool. So yeah, just play around with it a little bit. It'll take some time. All these things take some practice, right?
Right.
So
I was able to uncompound the shape, so I call that a win.
Oh, yay. Awesome. That is a win. That is great. Cool. Let's see a lot of donuts. Let's see a basket full of donuts. And hopefully you've saved your files. You've taken lots of screenshots and you're posting them. I'm seeing already some stuff coming up in the Padlet. So do it now or do it before you forget. Otherwise, in 2 weeks, it'll be hard to remember to put it in there. And all right.
And just saving again. So we save on Illustrator and then we X out on Illustrator.
You know what? So go ahead and share your screen because saving in VDI is a bit different. Share your screen and I'll show you because you're the only one right now who's new to VDI.
My Zoom call.
Oh, you stopped?
Got disconnected. So
okay, so let me see if I still have VDI open because I had it open, but since I haven't been using it, it just disconnects. Let me see. Yeah, my VDI kind of is disconnected. Let me see.
My battery died and then
yeah, I need to refresh it because since I haven't used it, it's yeah, it's gonna have it go in again. Yeah, since I've been teaching not on VDI, it kind of forgets. So basically what you need to do to save is to go save as, not save as, but save. Here, let me open again Illustrator. Here's Illustrator. So there's 2 things you need to do. You need to first save your file in your My Drive. So when you say save, you have to go find on the left side your Google Drive and put it in your My Drive. Oh, it's going to take a while. But then you need to disconnect from Google Drive. Okay. So while my Illustrator opens up, well, let's go. It's opening. It's almost there. It's hard to, when I'm sharing it slower. There it is. Okay, so say that we had this open, right? So I'm gonna open this file. Well, let's just say a new file. Doesn't matter, because it's gonna have a hard time opening that because I disconnected without leaving my Google Drive in place. So I'm gonna make just a new file. Oh, it did open it. Okay. So if this is the file that I have, when you say file, you do file, save. In my case, since I haven't changed anything, I'm doing a save as. It doesn't matter. File, save on your computer. And then here on the left, look for your Google Drive. Are you following?
Yes.
Okay. And then choose My Drive, double click. And then in here, I think you made a folder for Illustrator class files, I believe. And if not, go ahead and click there. And then there you get to save it. And hopefully you'll do that to all your files. You'll save them all in there. Okay.
Yes.
And then close the files. Close. I'll let you tell me that you're there if you're saving the other ones too.
Okay, so then I close Illustrator.
Did you so save all those different files that we made? And then down, go to this little arrow here at the bottom, open up and open the Google Drive icon.
Go to settings
and then go to this little guy and say preferences.
Oh, preferences. Okay. I think
Yeah.
last time I did quit.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a problem. So preferences, and then back to the same little thing again, and then say disconnect account. Are you sure? Yep, disconnect. That is what makes it safe, because now in a few seconds the sync into Google appears. That's next time you'll get this message. So you won't, when you start, you can sign in again. So and then things won't be corrupted like the word today.
Right.
Okay. Now you go down here and you first say power off, and shut down. And it turns off our school computer. So make sure to do it on the top level, right? It's the school one.
Right.
And then you're left with the Horizon thing that you need to click over here and log out of that one.
Log out. Okay.
Okay. Now there's a video where you see all the recordings. I have a video for you in the handouts. In this, where you check to see all the recordings. Here you have the handout that shows you how to use VDI. It shows you how to set in and how to back out. Okay, so watch this recording again, and that recording will show you how to do the whole in and out. Okay.
Okay, yeah, I hadn't seen where that was.
No, that's great.
That should be in the My Drive then, right?
In the My Drive where you have all the handouts. No, in the shared drive.
Shared drive. Okay.
If you don't know how to get here, I'll send you this email. How to get I'll send you this video. It's let me send it to you right now, so that we are so that you have it. So compose to Leticia Fuentes. I'm just going to say video for handouts. So this one shows you how to get to the handouts. Okay, so this little link, that's all I'm sending you. I just sent it to you. That is a video that'll show you how to get to here. And then once you're in here, this is the file that has the recording link so that you can review everything. And here you can also see the video to go in and out of VDI to show you the steps I just showed you. Or I'll put in here the recording of today and you can review this last few steps again. Just watch the last 10 minutes of today's class and you'll see the sync pair. Okay?
Okay.
And that'll be there by tonight or tomorrow morning.
Okay, thank you.
All right. You're welcome. Bye, Leticia. Bye, Linda.
Have a good Thanksgiving.
Bye, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving.
Okay, bye-bye.